Uh, and so, is there any audio, Jeff?
No sound at all. Well, this was off. I turned it on. It went back off. It's back on.
Is there any audio, Jeff? Could you turn that down?
I had it turned up so I could hear if we had audio. We had our sound engineer in Seabrook was telling us we had no sound. So
we have sound now.
We have sound. We figured out Jeff didn't push the button.
No, the button's supposed to be on. It just wasn't lit.
So it's Jeff's fault.
Oh, it could be.
No. Well, let's see if we have see if we have God's Garage back.
Brad, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you on the Zoom call.
Okay.
I tried to get to your live stream on my phone, and it says there's no live stream.
Oh, okay. Well, we haven't. Mars has been working on this for 2 hours, which is pretty typical every.
Well, I've got it on my phone. I've got it on here. So.
Okay. Well, at any rate, so we're going to try to continue this. I kind of gave a little synopsis of the thief up there at God's Garage, and so the only thing that I can think of, and I'm sure that you thought of this too, Brad, is the fact that somebody knew that truck was inside the garage.
Yeah, you don't know what kind of local knowledge goes into that, but we've got several trucks out here, and we have a few units we use to go pick up vehicles with, and that was just one of them.
Well, that's a real shame, and
yeah,
But you've already recovered the vehicle, correct?
Yeah, we got it back. We found it up in Willis, down a high line, down a four-wheeler trail, and it was just ditched. Guess it didn't meet the chop shop's requirements. So
you got it back. How bad was the damage?
It's cosmetic mostly because the truck's so old. It's got some dents in the doors, and it has a ranch hand bumper on the front that got bent up and crushed the grill, but it'll still run, but we have to replace the steering column because it's just completely wiped out.
Well, that's a real shame. Sorry.
Yep. That's all right.
Do you guys not have any security up there?
Oh, we have. They drove through a 14-foot wide, 10-foot tall wrought iron fence to get out. They jumped the fence to get in. We have 13 acres, so we have a lot of property. So anybody can jump a fence. We have some cameras, and there was GPS tracking on the truck, so we kind of have an idea who did it.
Well, that's good. Glad to hear that.
Hey, well, the downside of it is we posted it on Facebook, and we ended up having 72,000 views of that.
Oh,
post.
Wow.
Well, that's a real shame.
Well, yeah. it'd be nice if you can get some of them to turn into donors.
Well, it appears that may happen. We've had just amazing amount of calls of people saying, "Hey, what do you need?" And then Channel 2 had us on their 10 o'clock news last night, I think.
Last night, okay. Well, good for them.
Yeah. Good exposure.
Well, I was going to say any exposure is good exposure, and
yep.
Gets the name out there and gets people saying the name as well.
Say my name, say my name. Is it a Beyonce song?
Is it? I don't know.
Oh, you do too. You're a closeted fan.
No.
Not a big fan?
No.
Okay, just check.
Britney Spears.
We freed Britney.
Yeah.
No,
Britney's free because of us.
None of them.
Well, so I assume that the stolen truck is in the throes of getting fixed and put back together, and you're going to continue on using it?
Yes, sir. It's what we do here. So
Okay.
We'll just treat it like it was a donated vehicle that needs some work.
So
there you go.
Tell us a little bit more about the TVRS3.
Man, this is a neat car. Obviously, British car. Our former board chair, he's still a board member, Ted Wyrick. He's a United pilot, likes to mess around. Definitely a car guy. Just bought a C7 Corvette, Don, so that he's in the club now. But he donated this car to us to auction off to help raise money to build our new building. So that thing is in great shape for a car of its age. Runs really well, has a few little issues. It's on Bring a Trailer, so it's very, very well documented on Bring a Trailer.
So if people want to go bid on it, they can go on
currently I think it was 9,800 this morning, right before we came on.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the expectation is for it.
You know, we really don't know because the market's so weird right now. I mean, a year or two ago, if we got to 10 grand, I think we'd be pretty happy. Right now, there's just all bets are off on this.
Well, you know, with all the mess over there in the Ukraine and Russia, I think that all bets are off on pretty much everything, including the automobile industry. So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that goes all the way down to used cars as well. Not to mention, and we're going to have a special section on the whole Ukraine mess and how it's affecting the automotive industry a little bit later on. But at any rate, you know, TVR, I remember them vaguely. There were a few of them around the United States. As a matter of fact, oddly enough, this week on one of the episodes of Wheeler Dealers, I like that show.
Yeah.
They did a TVR Griffith.
Okay.
And it was a fascinating car, and I did not realize this particular one had a V8 engine in it. And
Oh, wow.
it was bad to the bone.
Wow.
It doesn't look like the one that you have up for auction. This was a bigger car. It was a two-seat car, but man, it was rather unique. I don't think I've ever seen one in person, that the kind that they were revealing on the show, and the one that they fixed up. But it was a clean car when they bought it, and apparently there is a huge movement over there in Great Britain with the TVR Club. And they brought them all out and were part of the show. Did you happen to see it, Brad?
I did not, but they actually, Wheeler Dealers did do and it's an S2, not an S3 like this one, but they actually did have an episode. I think it was season 6, episode 15 sounds about right. I looked it up the other day.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not that much of a fan of it. I mean, it's a neat show, but I don't have that kind of memory. But they did an S2, and it was a really neat show. And then the other British auto show, car show over there, they had it on there as well. But this car's got the 2.9 liter Ford in it.
Okay. You know,
It's a V6.
it's a V6.
So
Yeah.
the old Mercury
Was this called the Cologne motor or something like
The
that?
Mercury Marcour, he
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
motor.
Oh, but I think that they called the 2.9. I thought they called that the Cologne motor, and it was actually in the other Mercour, the sedan, as well as the sport car.
Yeah, the XR4 Ti, I think,
Right.
was the sedan, right? So that's the motor that's in here. It's a 5-speed. You know, this thing only weighs like 2,200 pounds, fiberglass body.
wow.
Just shy of 200 horsepower, it'll go.
I bet it will.
So anybody looking for a unique sports car, 2-seat, convertible, for somewhere under $25,000 can go to Bring a Trailer.
And this is a
Or
right-hand drive car.
Yeah.
Right-hand drive. They didn't make any of these in left-hand drive, so this is right-hand drive only.
Very unique. And it's legal in the United States.
It is. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, that's very interesting. I'm hoping that you have all the best of luck in auctioning this car off. Did you guys have to do any work to it?
Yeah, we've done some work to it. Again, on Bring a Trailer, I can't mention it all because I wasn't part of a lot of it. But you know, all of the brakes have been gone through. All of the parts that needed to be replaced that's one of the major things with this car. Brakes are always kind of an issue. It's got a new radiator in it. It really runs nice and cool. I think it actually has a new master cylinder and the new vacuum pump. So all of that stuff is on Bring a Trailer. It's very, very well documented. Our guys did a great job. There's plenty of videos on there too that Ted shot when he first got the car. So we've done quite a bit of work, and it's mechanically pretty sound. There's just a couple gauges, I think, inside that don't work, but for the most part, it's pretty operational.
Looks like a good potential track car.
Yeah, that's actually one of the shows that they had. They were comparing this to some of the other cars of its like over in the UK, and they drove it around on a track. And I don't know, I've got a C7 Grand Sport, so to me that doesn't look like a very good track car.
No, but there are classes for it. You've got the Mazda class.
Well, at any rate, it sounds fascinating, and the car itself, it is all complete. It's all there, and what What's the parts availability like on a TVR in the United States?
No, too bad because it shares a lot of Ford parts. But I think we had to put a Peugeot or vacuum booster on it. So it's a hodgepodge, really. When they built this, I don't think there's any parts that are really, kind of proprietary to TVR. They did a lot with Ford. So, I think it's just a matter of knowing what parts are the compatibles in the other.
And this is, at least based on the pictures I see on Bring a Trailer, it's kind of a convertible, but with an open Targa roof on it. It looks like both sides of it go down, but you can drive it with the rear glass up or with the rear glass down. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. So it's kind of a hybrid of a Targa and a convertible, and the entire top does hide back in the back to make it a full really unique. Really,
just have to know how to shift with your left hand instead of your right hand. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
That's why I said it lost me at right-hand drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got a European plate on it, too.
And where did he find it? Where did your board member find it?
He bought it from somebody that had already imported it. I'm not exactly sure where this one came from. He's done enough transactions on different cars. He's in the process of bringing, I guess, 2 old Corvettes and 2 old Daimlers or something from Florida right now. So he's pretty active with that. So I really don't know where this one came from, but it was already in the States.
And he sounds to be quite the collector.
Okay. So is there a timeline on getting this thing auctioned off?
Oh, we lost the
I
audio on him.
think the auction ends in 2 days or a day or something.
2 days.
That I think the wait, 2 days. So hopefully fairly soon.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck. It's God's Garage, and where do you go to auction to place a bid?
Bring a Trailer.
Bringatrailer.com. Mm-hmm. And what do you look up? I mean, they have more than one car on there, I'm sure.
TVR S3. Just put that in the search bar.
TVR S3. Is that right, Brad?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's it.
I'm trying to copy and paste it over, but of course I have zero success.
Mike will help you with that.
All right. Well, Brad, it's always great to talk to you. Best of luck on getting this thing auctioned off and getting the highest bid for the thing, and good luck on the truck. Sorry, things have just kind of the wheels have come off, so to speak.
Yeah, let us know what it went for.
Yeah, we will. Thanks for featuring us again. It's always nice to be with you guys, and we'll get our building built, and you can come to a show from there one morning.
Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it. Thank you,
Awesome.
Brad. Okay, thank you. All right. And by the way, if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can shoot us an email. The address is info@inwheeltime.com. There's tons of news to tell you about. And I guess I can give you a little bit of that right now. We're going to have a special section, and we're going to talk to our good friend out on the West Coast about how the Ukraine invasion is going to or is affecting the automobile industry and mainly the new car industry. And he'll be with us toward the end of the show because he's still in bed, I'm sure.
Mr. Nerad?
Yeah, Jack Nerad. So that'll be coming up. All right. Rivian.
Okay.
Rivian Automotive. You familiar with them?
Yeah, kind of more driven around trucks than anything else. They're supposed to have some big monster truck thing.
Well, they made a terrible mistake. They rolled back price hikes on EVs booked before March 1st on Thursday, days after facing backlash from customers following a 20% price hike.
Oh.
And they don't even have the cars yet, but they raised the price on them. And they've ordered the cars.
Manipulating it.
The startup automaker said on Tuesday it had increased selling prices of its vehicles by about 20% due to inflationary pressures and higher component costs.
Yeah, well, no kidding.
Under the previous plan, the base price of the Rivian R1T electric pickup truck, I don't know why anybody would go out and buy something that is totally unproven from a company that is a
Never
startup
built a vehicle.
Never built a vehicle in their lives. Anyway, the base price of the Rivian R1T electric pickup truck would have risen to about $79,500 from $67,500. Oh my God! While the R1 SSUV to $84,500 from $70,000. Rivian stock prices fell 3.6% to $51.70 in midday trading last week.
Yeah, so now they're going to go even higher because they got to compensate for the loss of value in the stocks. They're going to sell them, but they're going to sell out of them either way.
What moron would do something like that? That was one of those. That's a Don Armstrong right there. Didn't think that through very well.
Well, I really think where you started the story with an unproven company that's never built a vehicle before, what are you expecting? I mean, honestly, can you really expect a smooth flow of a transaction directly with the manufacturer, which in Texas is not in the business model? And I want to say it's almost against the law in Texas. You're not allowed to, the manufacturers aren't allowed to sell direct to the consumer. So Rivian's doing that same two-step shuffle that Tesla does.
Mm-hmm. What? You shoot yourself in the foot right out of the box.
And base your pricing before you know what your costs are. And now that the costs are going through the roof and probably going to go even higher,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
their 20% price hike might not be enough.
Speaking of which, how about the gasoline price hikes that have been taking place? Because
Minute by
even
minute.
though that this country has more than enough capacity to produce its own oil, we choose
At
to
the request,
import oil from Russia
and Iran.
and Iran.
People
why?
who hate us.
Yeah, why do we do that? When
Well-
when it's been proven,
He wants to build them back better.
them, yeah. I just don't understand it.
It doesn't make a moment's worth of sense because all he would have to say is just say, I'm reducing all the restrictions currently on the oil industry. Let's get producing. And price would fall tomorrow.
And there's misinformation in the administration. You got Boris Baranov and Natasha
That's
running.
Boris Batinov.
Batinov and Natasha over there running it.
Boris and Natasha.
Hunter doesn't have a job now.
Hunter.
Well, he's not getting any checks from the Ukraine at the moment
Yeah.
either.
And I think you said all the files have been burned now.
Well, Jeep's electric future has a face now. Stellantis revealed an image of the Adventure brand's first battery electric vehicle on Tuesday. Did you see it? The two-door? During the rollout of the automaker's long-term strategic plan that covers the rest of the decade, Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares said the electric crossover will support Jeep's worldwide quest towards zero-emission freedom. It's slated to arrive in the first half of 2023. That's right around the corner in car terms. Tavares said the plan calls for battery electric vehicles to make up all of the company's sales in Europe and at least half of U.S. sales by 2030. Stellantis said it's aiming to have more than 75 battery electric models globally before the end of the decade and to reach global annual battery electric vehicle sales of 5 million vehicles in that period. And the rush of zero-emission models will see the debut of a hydrogen-powered Ram heavy-duty pickup later in the decade.
Wow.
The electric Ram 1500 is slated to hit the market before then in 2024.
So you're going to have full-size trucks from Ford, Chevy, and Ram.
Yep.
And sounds like Ram's going to be the first one out with a heavy duty
That's what it appears.
as a hydrogen powered, but still a non-petroleum based
Where does
fuel.
Tesla's pickup fit in that?
Good question.
Yeah, they keep postponing that. I wonder what's going on with that. Why? Why do they keep postponing it?
Well, first off, I'm not a fan of it visually. I think that space Jetson looking thing.
Yes, but you're not the target market either. Yeah, but you're not the target market.
Even though we
market-
are a big target.
the
you're not
target market would be our grandchildren, basically. Sorry. Am I wrong?
I think I was just told I was old.
Yeah.
And I am.
And big.
All right. Time
Well,
to-
I think isn't Hummer EVs just around the corner? That's supposed to be starting to get delivered in July.
Good luck.
And that's a little over $100,000.
All right, time now for this hour's car review. I had a chance to drive the 22 Ram 2500. Available trim levels include the Tradesman, the Lone Star, the Power Wagon, the Laramie, the Limited Longhorn. I reviewed the Lone Star Silver Crew Cab 4x4, as I like to call it, the Whopper. What size and class? Well, it's a standard pickup, but it's a 3/4 ton. Many passengers, 5, including the driver. Exterior changes. It's part of the 5th generation Ram. It was all new for 2019. And this is an all-new trim package called the Lone Star Silver. Exterior features include the big, sexy Ram grille, blackout or chrome, depending on the trim level that you choose. Engine is, it's an engine type emblem on both sides of the truck that says Cummins on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I will tell you, it's one bad to the bone motor. Integrated tow hooks inside the lower grille. Our Lone Star had optional chrome side steps on it. What I liked, the tough and tougher look trim options that are on this particular. What could use improvement? Nothing. Interior highlights include the best dash of all manufacturers, and I say that with confidence.
And they have been for quite some time.
Yes, it truly is. I mean, I'm driving one of its competitors right now, and not that there's anything wrong with this one, but I, in comparison, personally prefer the Ram. Well laid out interior with total functionality, small or big infotainment screens. This one had the smaller one in it, but it was perfectly fine. I like the great big one, and it takes up the entire center of the dash.
Wow.
Multifunction center console works well. Plenty of storage room under the seat, multifunction storage functions throughout. What I liked about it, the in-floor storage.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's a very unique feature, and it really floats my boat, as it were. The 6.7-liter Cummins turbo diesel turns out 370 horsepower, 850 pound-feet of torque. Now,
Stump
there
puller.
is an option on that. It's called the high output, and it has over 1,000 pound-feet of torque. 6-speed automatic transmission, tow rating up to 20,000 pounds, haul rating 7,680 pounds.
Wow.
The gas mileage on this, or diesel mileage on this, it's not mandated by law to be on the window sticker.
Three-quarter ton truck.
And I don't understand that. Stupid. Why? I got 19.4 miles per gallon.
That's pretty good for
A gasoline motor, you get 12, 13 miles per gallon.
And it's a huge
with
truck.
a tailwind
Exactly.
and going downhill.
So 19.4 miles per gallon over 256.5 miles. What I liked about it, the power, the torque. What could use improvement? Nothing, honey. Ride and handling. Now, the air suspension is available on this. Our particular one had coil springs on it. It's a rough ride without it being loaded and towing something or hauling something, so keep that in mind. But I will say that it rides better than the one that I'm currently driving out there from the competition. Base trim price, $51,027. This is a work truck, folks. So you're going to pay for a work truck
Base trim at 51.
51. Price is tested $75,840. It's loaded up. Base model price $41,370.
Wow.
So if you get into a stripper, there you go, $41,370. Competitors, Ford's heavy duty, super duty they call it, $38,540. Chevy $39,500 and GMC $40,600. And that's my review of the 2022 Ram
You
2500.
sound like you really liked it.
I did.
It was a good-looking truck.
I wish that I could hook it up to, some
20,000 pounds and drag it somewhere.
Yeah.
Just to see how it
Yeah.
feels. Pulling
some
weight.
sort of bulldozer or something like that. I mean, because it would do a fine job, no doubt. There you go. All right, time now for the cruise-in calendar, and Conrad has that, I think.
Yeah. On the 19th, on the 12th of March is the Classic Car Stampede in Belleville, Texas. On the 19th, we're going to be at Tailpipes and Tacos out at Lupi Tortillas in Katy on Grand Boulevard and Kingsland. Stop out and say hi. We're changing the format. Stan and the folks at Lupi are changing the format. They're going to do a quarterly show with awards and stuff as well. And it's all still fundraiser for Shirley's kids. And then also on the 19th in Galveston is Saturday at the Strand, and that is a fee. You got to pay $30 to put your car in the show, and that's going to be Pier 1 at 21st Street. Also on the 19th is the Central Texas Rolling Car Show. They'll be leaving Leander, Texas at 9:30 a.m. And then out there near Mr. Mars is on the 26th of March is Church on the Rock at the Spindletop Car Show in Beaumont. And then later on April 9th, Luby's Lake Jackson second annual car show. And that's at 125 Westway in Lake Jackson. April 9th starting at 9 a.m.
All right, and let's not forget the Chrome and Coffee tomorrow morning.
Yep, I have that down for later.
Okay, Chrome and Coffee at the Avalon Diner in the Fountains in Stafford.
On Stan's, on the event at Lupi Tortillas, that is not, you don't have to pay to enter your vehicle, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to point that out.
All right. Thank you. The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available from your favorite podcast source. In Wheel Time Car Show continues right after this quick break. Saturday, March 19th, 2022 is the premiere of the all-new Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos kicks off a new seasonal format, and first up is the Spring Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m., Saturday, March 19th. Tailpipes and Tacos will award trophies for the best hot rod, best classic, and best modern classic, so make plans now. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise in, and this is where you'll enjoy seeing the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, along with Lupi Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and all cars will automatically compete for custom Lupi trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Get your ride ready for the all-new Spring Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, March 19th. It's going to be a huge car show, and spectators are welcome. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show will be there, too. Let's celebrate the arrival of spring and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday morning, March 19th, 8 to 11 a.m. at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net. It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Good morning to you. The place for weekly entertaining car talk. Just ahead, Paint House potentate Randy Borcherding. Conrad has the popular This Week in Auto History, and we'll get you updated on the stories making car news this week. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars. King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us today. Let's get right to it. Randy Borcherding is supposed to be over there at Paint House.
Well, he is, but I'm trying to get him to go to a landscape.
Sideways.
Yeah, he's kind of whacked out. There he is.
That better?
Much better.
Well, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
We're good. You? No, we're not. I'm going to lie to you. We're not good.
Some of us are better than others.
Yeah.
So I understand you just got back from a trip.
I did. We got back from a trip and visiting the son before he deploys and off to wherever. And just got done painting a car this morning.
Wow.
Is that the still got the Corvette in the booth?
Yes, sir.
Is that the one with the Viking blood or whatever it was?
Don't touch it.
There it is.
Wow.
And what did you call?
And you called it Viking blood?
Yeah, that's the name of that one.
And-
I figured we had enough Randy Apples in the world.
Nah, you never have too many Randy apples.
So you also talked about doing a what did you call it? A polymerization protection coating on it. Explain that.
But, AKA clear coat.
Oh, duh. Well, it just sounds more technical.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Are you-
stretching my vocabulary muscles.
Have you just gotten out of or going into the paint booth?
Just literally finished 20 minutes ago.
Really?
There's a lot of fumes still floating around in there.
Yeah. Well, I don't smell them anymore, so who cares?
It's good. Well,
One good thing about COVID, huh?
Yeah, those brain cells are just shooting out the front door.
What's left of them?
Yes.
So, how many coats of color will you apply?
In the case of this project, there's a black sealer, 4 coats of the color, and 5 coats of clear.
Wow.
Okay. And then if it was to be measured, how many mils thick would that be?
I
Don't.
don't know. I've been doing paint millages. I think you're about 1.5 mils to 2 mils per coat of clear when it's dry. So 10 probably.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we sand a lot of that off when we color sand and buff the paint.
Which is why you put so many more layers of clear on to give you room to
You
sand.
know, we put $100 on and take $50 off, or however you want to look at it.
But it sure looks pretty.
Well, it's the heater just turned off, so I can walk you in here. It's now the fun begins, which is the sanding and the polishing. But we let it dry for a while first,
How long do you let it dry?
as long as possible, at the risk of sounding sarcastic. But I'd say at minimum a couple weeks.
Oh my!
You
And
don't leave it in the paint booth for a couple of weeks, do you?
no,
Okay.
no. In fact, this is coming out today, and I will come back this afternoon and paint the hood, the deck cover that goes right here, and a few of the other small things, and then it'll be done. Well, paint-wise, it'll be done.
Boy, that sure is a beautiful color.
Kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it when it gets out in the sun.
You could use that on your pedicure color. Kind of.
It is.
Toenails.
It's a pretty color, and the nice thing about it is it looks like a candy, but it's not.
Oh, it's not really.
It's what we call a 2-stage finish, just a base coat, clear coat. I'll show you the.
Now, is that color your creation?
Yes, this is
Oh,
one of our custom. So this is the valve covers and intake manifold that will go on a modern LS7 fuel injected engine. So we color coordinated a little bit.
How do you not paint the ribs on the valve covers?
Masking tape.
That's all?
Yeah.
And you just trim the masking tape to exactly just the top of that.
Yeah, we'll lay masking tape along each rib, and then when the paint's wet, I pull it back off. And then we'll come back and sand it and polish the ribs anyway, but at least you don't have a lot of material to remove.
It's beautiful.
So it's almost like a pinstriping tape.
Yeah.
Or what we used to.
It is. It is. Those ribs are an 1/8 inch wide, and you use an 1/8 inch wide tape.
Well, it works.
So you
Lucky
have to
you.
trim it or nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sweet. Yeah.
And then what's the planned powertrain? I know you said LS based, but how big and what are we doing? What are you doing with the powertrain?
The modern LS7 came in the ZR1 vets, I think. I'll show you a picture of the engine here. That's the engine. It's got a modern drive on it, drive system. All those painted parts will sit on top of that. And then it gets a 5-speed Tremec behind it.
Oh, okay.
So it's all modernized stuff, but in a classic shell, so to speak.
And is this? I'm assuming this also has somebody else's chassis.
It has a chassis from a company called Street Shop. They're in Alabama. We've done another vet with their chassis. It's a nice chassis. We've got a 69 vet here that will have an Art Morrison chassis, or does have an Art Morrison chassis. And then we've got the 64 that's in the other building that is a factory chassis, but with just bolt-on upgraded control arms and sway bars, that kind of stuff.
What made you go with this chassis company out of Alabama as opposed to an Art Morrison?
This car we just painted, the one you just saw, was wrecked, and it already had that chassis in it.
Oh, okay.
But it had to be replaced. It was wrecked to the point that the frame was bent.
Oh, wow.
And you would presume that would total the car. But in this case, the car has such a value that it did not. And
had you heard of or worked with this chassis company previously before this vehicle? Okay.
Yeah, we did a 63 Roadster Corvette a few years back, and it also had a Street Shop chassis in it. The customer and I selected it back then, and we had a good experience with it. So it's a good piece of hardware, as are Roadster Shop and Morrison and some of the others. Yeah. They're all making great stuff.
Now, does this Street Shop chassis company, do they normally just do older model type cars, or if you want a custom chassis on a new C7, would they have those in stock as well?
No, they just do retro chassis.
Gotcha.
Things that fit the C1s, C2s. I don't think they're doing a C3 yet, which would be the 68 and up.
Yep.
Where Morrison is, Roadster Shop is. So I believe Street Shop's just in the older body styles.
When they build a chassis, are they custom built just for instance, this one that's under that car?
Are they built by order? They don't really have a shelf full of them, do they?
No, it's built to order, and all of these chassis companies are built to order. They don't inventory them.
Now, do you go and pick up the chassis, or do you have it shipped to you?
It depends. In this case, I went and delivered it and picked it up on the 67. The 69 Art Morrison chassis we just had shipped to us. It depends. If I can squeeze in a road trip, I will. But I couldn't do it for the 69.
Randy, when they ship a chassis, how do they do that? Do they box it up or just put it on skids or what?
It's crated, palletized and got a crate built around it.
Gotcha.
I've been at Morrison's place, and they've got a complete, division just devoted to crating and packaging the things they ship.
So when you order, let's say on this 68, when you order the chassis, do you tell them, here's the engine I'm using, here's the rear end componentry I'm using, here's the suspension componentry I'm using, and they build the adjustments into the chassis for you? Or do you get the chassis and you have to build your adjustments to fit their chassis?
Well, I don't know what you mean by adjustments, but the hardware, for example, the coilovers, the differential, like here's the front of the Morrison in the 69. So that's a standardized cradle that they make. And we can specify what coilover we want, or they have a standard one, what brakes we want.
Okay, so you give them the order of how everything hangs on the chassis or the componentry that's put on the chassis.
Wow, that's pretty.
And in the case of this one, this is the first one they've done for C3. So we helped them develop it, measuring and pictures and all that. And this is the first one they've had in a C3 that's a production chassis. They've done custom ones in the past. But now when you order a C3 chassis for your 72 Corvette, it will be based on what this one started out as.
So this one's kind of the starting point, yeah.
Yeah, we learned a few things. They've adjusted a few things, and we knew that was part of the process.
Well, must be nice to be so connected to be involved in their R&D.
Well, it is. They've become good friends, and sadly, you guys may be aware of this. Craig Morrison, Art Morrison's son, Craig was very instrumental. He was a good friend of mine. Passed away last year from COVID.
I remember.
46 years old, and it just got him. So, nonetheless, yeah, we've remained have a relationship with them, and they're more friends than they are vendors at this point.
Cool. So, what's the planned powertrain for the 68?
An LS3 built to look retro, like a small block Chevy, almost like maybe an LT1 would have looked back in the day.
Oh, cool. Carburetor and all?
Well, it'll be fuel injected, but look like a carburetor. They'll have an air cleaner on it. It'll be painted orange, black engine bay. It'll be very retro, even though the body is customized with the wide fenders. And but it's going to be reminiscent of a 70s IMSA car or something of that realm when they had the big fat fenders on them.
And what color?
We don't know yet. I'm trying to get the owner to go in a direction that I think would be good.
So the John Greenwood look with the flowing American flags down the side of it?
I'll show you here. Here are some renderings. I don't know if they show well on your side.
Oh, yeah.
Different colors, different interior colors. There's two blues, a gold, a green, and then this kind of royal blue with a very dark brown, almost espresso interior. I'm leaning towards the dark blue with the espresso interior.
Well, that's why that's the biggest picture.
But I like the gold and the green because they're different.
So do you draw these?
No, these were done by a gentleman named Eric Brockmeyer. He does a lot of our renderings. Another fella named Tavis Highlander did this El Camino we're working on. So we have different sources for that when we need it.
So when they draw these, is this you sitting down with them, giving them your view of it, and then kind of some rough photographs of the body so they get the body contours correct as well?
It's usually just a phone call or an email. They're very in tune to the industry, and we all speak the same language, so to speak. And you just kind of give them an outline of what you're looking for, or a picture, 2 or 3 pictures for ideas, and they begin the process. This switch screens again here. This 55 is not the final rendering, but that's where we started. So you got to start somewhere, and started modifying it, adding, subtracting, and it's way cheaper to do it in a computer than
in person
on the car.
And how many vehicles do you have, say, in process right now in the shop?
In the shop, and counting off at an upholstery shop, 6.
Okay.
We've got one that's almost done with upholstery, and one we just got back from upholstery that's in the other shop.
And any plans to paint the fire truck?
Oh, I hope not.
Oh my gosh.
That thing is a blast, and it works. It all works.
And
I don't get what to do with it yet, but it's awfully cool.
And where is Chakota?
It's in Oklahoma.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is Chakota in Oklahoma. I was figuring it was somewhere else.
It was I'll walk you over. I don't know if I'm going to lose the signal or not, but there it is. And it was a working truck up till like 6 months ago.
And now you just ride it around the neighborhood late at night to wake the neighbors up.
Yeah.
Does the siren work on it?
It all works.
It all works.
Everything works.
And
Drives. They drove it back. They bought it in Brenham and drove it home.
And the plan for it?
They have a sod business, 290 grass, and they thought it'd be fun to water the grass they put down with a fire
Oh,
truck.
that's cool. That's neat.
That sounds great. That actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. Is it a tanker?
Oh yeah, it's got a tank. It's got the pump on it, all that stuff.
Well, gee whiz, you could,
Fill it with beer.
you could do that. I was going to say you could go out and fight a fire and then water the grass when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, Go ahead.
No, I was just finishing a sentence. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to go back to the chassis, if you don't mind. You said that C3 that you're working on, that was the first of, I guess, a lifetime of C3s that company's going to turn out. So
Yes.
Did you ship the body over there? How did they make tweaks on getting everything just right to fit underneath the C3 without the body?
The short answer is no, we did not. What was good about these cars from C2 to C3, so from the red vet you saw in the booth to this primered 69, from the in front of the back wheels forward, it's the same car mechanically, dimensionally. From the back wheel area, kind of behind the seats there, the frame's a little different, and we just had to do some measuring. They already knew what works on a C2, and with our measurements, we modified the rear section, and it almost fit like a glove. We had to modify a little bit, but they made some tweaks to their formula, and the next one shouldn't have to have the mods.
That is amazing.
So
to
it was
me.
really kind
It
of
is.
transitioning an existing C2, making the changes to make the C3. And that'll be, I mean, if they're the only ones out there selling a C3 full chassis, they'll be out ahead of the whole crowd.
Well, there are others. Roadster Shop has one. There's a couple others, smaller companies. I don't recall their names at the moment, but this won't be the only one. It just will have the Art Morrison
Name.
approval and level of fit and finish and performance, which can't be denied. They drive wonderfully.
Well,
And it'll be interesting. We'll have 3 Corvettes in the shop, one with a Morrison, one with Street Shop, and the third one with a modified original chassis, and to see how each of them drives.
well, let me guess.
Let me volunteer to give you the opinion.
Yeah, it won't be the original chassis that that tops the cake.
Yeah, I hear you. That would be my guess as well, but it's always a fun experiment to compare and contrast when you get the chance.
Well, I owned, believe it or not, way back when I was a teenager, a C3 Corvette. Not really, but I owned a C3 Corvette, and it had absolutely no horsepower. And
What
compared,
was it,
I'm sorry, say again.
late 70s?
Yeah, 77 to be precise.
Gutless
I hate
wonder.
to say it, but those were terrible cars.
Thank you. And I'm
You're
just going to say, as much as I would have liked to have said, oh, man, that thing handled great, it did not. It was okay.
No.
But to, a custom chassis or to today's standards of a Corvette, it
gosh.
can't even hold a key. And when I see a 70, any of those C3 Corvettes, that's all I can think of is like, oh, dear God, why would somebody sink all that money in there? Now, clearly the one that you have there is going to be a full custom.
Indeed. And I think the C3s are cool right up until they got rid of the chrome bumpers.
Yep. So what was that, 73? And then 74, they did the back
I
as
think
well?
73.
Yeah.
74, I think, was a half and half with a chrome front and a plastic rear.
And then
somewhere in that.
the bubble back window in 78.
Once
78.
they got replaced, I just don't have a lot of passion for them anymore.
Yeah. Well, I will say that the the C3 just it was based on the Mako Shark, and as far as the body is concerned, sexy body, love the body, but the
absolutely.
car itself is an actual rolling car.
Opus.
And they sold a ton of them back then. too.
I
The sales
bought one.
numbers were pretty
Well,
high.
I remember reading an article way back when that back then in the mid 70s, the Corvette weighed more than a half-ton Chevy truck.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it wasn't all that. I was proud of it. It was brand new, and it was the latest, greatest thing when I bought it in '76. Ordered it from the factory, and matter of fact, when I ordered the car, they did not mention in the order that you could have a side view mirror option. Instead of the big long chrome mirrors, you could get the compact ones, and of course,
sport mirror.
once that car came out, and I saw the sport mirrors, if you want to call them that, then I thought, I've got to have those. Get those ugly chrome things off of there. And so I took it to a dealer out that I bought it from, and they hacked up with a Sawzall the inside of the door to make these. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Had I taken the door panel off to see what they'd done inside, I'd have had them give me a brand new car.
Yeah, because the outside looked good. The inside was like layers and layers.
Oh, it was just awful what they did. But those kind of things hopefully don't happen anymore.
We see a lot of that in these old cars when they come in to get worked on, haven't been touched in a long time. It's amazing how things were done or not done back then.
Yeah. I could have done a better job, and believe me, I'm not good with anything, much less a Sawzall. But this was just a hack job all the way. But at any rate. Well, Randy, it's always great to talk to you, my friend. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day and working your paint job around us in this broadcast. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's always fun to see what you got in the garage.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Tell Jen we said hi, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
The proprietor of Paint Shop,
Paint
Randy
House.
Borcherding. I'm sorry, Paint House. I'm talking about shops here. Anyway, this week in auto history. Ready?
Nope.
Yep.
All right. Hit it.
Mars is ready here.
We don't worry about
So,
that. You just go right ahead.
In 1903, Alexander Winton drove his Winton Bullet to set a land speed record at Daytona Beach, Florida. The car was built in 1902. Was called the Bullet 1. He drove a measured mile over 65 miles an hour in 1901.
Wow.
And his first automobile race was at Daytona, held a year earlier, when Winton and his Bullet tied Ransom E. Oldsmobile.
That didn't quite come out right.
Tied Ransom Oldsmobile in the Oldsmobile Pirate at 57 miles an hour, and then a year later he got another 10 miles
Winton and his Bullet.
an hour. Winton and
Winton's
his Bullet. In 1908 in England, a standardization test, you're way ahead of me here, Morris.
I'm backed up.
A standardization test was held in England, and 3 random Cadillacs were chosen and disassembled, put in a pile, and all 3 of them were reassembled, proving the concept of interchangeability of parts to build one vehicle for mass production. The 3 1907 Model K Cadillacs used in the test won the Dewar Trophy by the Royal Automobile Club of England.
Very prestigious.
Yep. Oh, extremely. And that was some of where Standard of the World came from. In 1919, in Oregon, they became the first state to impose a 1% gas tax. The collected funds were used for road construction, and that was just the start of the government taking all of your money and sending it someplace that it really doesn't go, but you feel good about it.
Is that in the script?
No. In 1948, the Federal Trade Commission issued a restraining order preventing Willys Overland Company from claiming that they had developed the Jeep. Willys Overland Company did, in fact, end up producing the Army vehicle that came to be known as Jeep, but it was originally designed by Bantam Motor Company. And if you look at the picture of this, I noticed in the original Bantam, it doesn't have a seven-slot grill. It's got a whole lot more slots. And then I guess as time evolved, it changed to the 7-slot grill. In 1992, Earl Scheib, the founder of the specialized repainting and collision repair company, passed away. He founded the company in Los Angeles in 1937, and it grew quickly during World War II, and by 1975 had 75 branches across Germany and England, not even counting all of them in the United States.
Paint your car for $19.95.
Yeah. And he was a busy place.
I wonder if Randy would do that for us.
In 1995, with a few extra zeros behind it. And then in 2008, Boyd Leon Coddington of the American Hot Rod TV show passed away from complications with diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
What a jerk.
I was going to say, but yeah.
I had
Complete
met him.
ass.
I had met him at a NASCAR event where he was the grand marshal up in Dallas-Fort Worth, and he was hanging out in the Chevy tent, and you are dead on correct.
What an ass. Yeah. And when you're that way, it just ruins all of the things that you've worked for
persona.
all.
Yeah,
He
it's
should
just
have
the way
never
he-
gone on television.
Yeah, just the way he treated people. Was,
Oh my God, it's awful.
And you look at what came out of Coddington's shop, and now so many of the shows today is that a lot of those people have a history with
Yep.
Coddington
They've filtered into other parts
Right.
of the industry.
industry. You know, because I think Foose came out of the Coddington shop.
Yep.
And-
Poor guy.
Well, not really. I mean, I think he's
No,
done
really.
quite well for himself.
Really, because you think what he had to go through working for that jerk.
Well, yeah, but I think he feels much more accomplished today than he did back
And if
then.
you do have a comment about Coddington, send it to Mike Mars.
No, send it to info@InWheelTime.
Yeah. All right. Time now for a quick break. We'll be right back. You're on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Saturday, March 19th, 2022 is the premiere of the all-new Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos kicks off a new seasonal format, and first up is the Spring Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m., Saturday, March 19th. Tailpipes and Tacos will award trophies for the best hot rod, best classic, and best modern classic, so make plans now. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise in, and this is where you'll enjoy seeing the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, along with Lupi Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and all cars will automatically compete for custom Lupi trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Get your ride ready for the all-new Spring Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, March 19th. It's going to be a huge car show, and spectators are welcome. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show will be there, too. Let's celebrate the arrival of spring and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday morning, March 19th, 8 to 11 a.m. at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net. It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Just ahead, Jeffrey has our pre-owned car of the week, the VW Jetta, that might just be right up your alley. Local road racer Alec Udell checks in, lets us know what's going on in his world. Later, we talk with Mustang Randy. Conrad has the racing calendar and car clinic, and we'll also have the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Just ahead on this edition of the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeffrey Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong, so glad you could join us today. And also joining us right now is Alec Udell, Houston's own professional road racer. Alec, good morning. Good to see you.
Morning. Good to be here, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, how come you're not racing today?
How come I'm not racing day? Because it is just before there's like 2 weeks that we're spending at Sebring here coming up. So
Well, that's what I was hoping that you would lead us into. So
Sure.
what is up with you? How is your life? What's going on?
Life is pretty good. Just enjoying spending a little bit of time at home before getting heavy into some coaching and a bit of driving. So I'm heading to Sebring, like I said, tomorrow morning. I'll be there for about 2 weeks. I've been working on a little bit of a pretty cool system that, I don't know, we may or may not appreciate, but it just depends on, what you're thinking. So there is a bunch of GT3 Cup racing that's coming up basically next week. We've got the Carrera Cup testing leading into the first race of the season, as well as the USAC series, their sprint challenge that I'll be doing some coaching with. And then I've been working with a team as well as a manufacturer on a steer-by-wire system that they're waiting approval on basically to run in the IMSA series.
A steer by wire.
That's what he said.
So you're
Yep.
you're talking about still a driver behind the wheel, but electronic, I'm assuming servos are actually moving the suspension components around.
Yep, exactly. So it goes on the rack and pinion, but it's got basically a force feedback unit with a wire that connects to electric servos that turn the steering rack.
So you as a driver, how does that impact your I don't drive professionally. I just drive like a lunatic. How does that affect your feel for the road? How do you get that feedback in the system?
Yeah, and so that's kind of the challenge with the system is you basically a lot of it's based on like how much force comes through like the vertical axis. So like when the tire gets loaded, they have essentially an algorithm that the manufacturer has built to give force feedback through the wires essentially to the unit that you're steering with.
So that's all done with sensors on the suspension, or just an in-car device?
It's a combination of like an in-car device, a little computer unit that is reading data from like lateral load, which comes from sensors on the suspension, as well as like G-force load from an accelerometer.
Not unlike what some of the sims use.
Right. Yeah. But the challenging or the difference between like a sim versus like a real application with this unit is like in a sim, it does all the math already and it knows all the math that it's doing. In the real life, it kind of has to process the math and then run it through the system to the driver.
Oh my God. And you're going to drive this at speed? What is the speed of this car? What's the top speed of this car?
So this car is a GT3 style race car. So the top speeds are, 160, 170, 180, depending on the racetrack.
Oh my God. And you're not connected to the wheels.
Yeah.
Is there a default connection to the wheels? Because I know.
No, it's your fault.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know on Infinity cars, they have a drive-by-wire system.
Yeah, that's correct.
But it has a default power loss safety system in it where you're driving by wire because it's actually pulling and separating the steering wheel from the steering box. But when power is lost, that pull is stopped and the two pieces connect mechanically. Is that also the same thing? Do you have the same type of a system on your car?
Nope. It's basically likened to like a fighter jet because all fighter jets now are fly-by-wire. And so it's kind of the same thing where you don't have that actual connection. So part of the process is, and why it's being used in motorsport is to develop the system and prove the capability of the system and test it in the most harsh conditions. So, someone like myself pushing it to the limit for hours on end.
But you have, through that development, you don't just go from here's my idea to here's the mechanical to 160 miles an hour. You've tested this at the 10, 20, 30 mile an hour ranges to
like a bench test.
Yeah.
Sure. And so basically this system has been running in Europe since 2019. And so now they're working on bringing it to the United States and bringing it to a couple of racing series here as well.
So did you have any contact with it back when you were in Europe a couple of years ago?
I did actually. Yeah. And so one of the races I did was at Hockenheim and I raced on a team where they were developing that system as well. And so it's kind of like I haven't really had much conversation back and forth since then, but we kind of got hooked back up through a team that I work with in Houston here and, are just kind of talking and seeing what the process is going to be like to get it approved because it's a new system and there's kind of some questions about it, but it's very exciting in terms of I get to put my engineering hat back on a little bit more because that's what I studied in college.
Use some of that Clemson money.
There you go.
Exactly, yeah. And combine that with the driving.
So with that, are you actually entering this car in the 12 hours?
Potentially. It's got to go through some processes, and so that's kind of
like approvals from IMSA?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of the question mark at the moment.
You can have somebody else drive it.
Well, no, but if it's proven itself in Europe for a couple of years, I can't see why IMSA wouldn't want to at least introduce the technology here in the States.
Yeah, I think there's just a bit of a process that they've got to go through. So I agree. And of course I want to drive it, but it's just a matter of, is it going to happen?
What is the advantage of a drive-by-wire in racing? What's the advantage of that? Because you still have to have sensors and things like that hanging on the car. I mean,
Sure.
as opposed to an actual mechanical steering column, if you will, and connected to, tie rods and all of the stuff that's up there, you still have to have that.
Yeah, so the long-term effects of the system, it's very useful in rally racing, and especially because you don't get a bunch of feedback in the steering wheel if you don't want to. You can kind of tune how much it comes back. So basically what it does is when you steer, you just can hold the steering wheel in that direction, and the tires will acclimate back to the direction that you're holding the steering wheel. So when there's a lot of bumps and kind of a bunch of elevation change, the driver can be more precise on the inputs. In terms of the long-term effects as well, kind of down the road, you eliminate the steering rack completely, and then you can actually set toe for different angles as you're going down the track.
But I'm sorry, but I've been taught all my life, part of driving, especially a race car, is the feel that you get back, the feedback from the actual front end and what it's doing and how it's reacting to the bump. There's no perfect surface. So
Sure.
how do you react to that if you can't feel it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you can feel it, and that's the interesting thing. But it's about how quickly that the system can respond to it, and so there is a little bit of a delay. Basically, there's a little bit of a lag, and it's, milliseconds essentially. But you can feel it, so you've got to anticipate it as a driver. You've got to learn and anticipate it a little bit more, because you still get that feedback from the steering system. It's just not exactly the same, and so that's part of the process as well, is getting it basically as close as possible to the mechanical system as you can.
But the steering wheel is not connected to the front end at all.
Exactly.
I mean, it's basically like a video game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is the feedback done with a magnetic device on the steering column at the hands of the driver, or are they actually using servos to give the feedback?
It's like a force feedback unit like you would see on a racing sim.
Okay.
So
it's been around a while.
I know. I'm just trying to process this in my mind. That it's one thing to be sitting in a room in a simulator and having the seat move and the steering wheel vibrate and all that sort of stuff, but it's a whole nother thing when you yourself are doing 150 miles an hour around a track. I mean, I can't imagine that they'd have to take some sort of mental genius to get past that, because I don't know as if I could.
Well, I think
That's why we have Alec on the show.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think that's why it's these young guys that are doing this. I mean,
Thanks, Mike.
It's like the young guys in
Thanks,
NASCAR.
Mike.
They have no fear, for one thing. They're not old enough to know what it's like.
They don't know what they don't know.
That's right.
But they
And
also understand the technology and are engaged in
the development
on
of that
Alec's
technology.
point, the mechanical part of the technology. Do you do any of the electronic technology as well, or do you leave that to those guys?
No, I leave that to those guys.
Yeah,
Just don't tell the driver.
I know some of it, but I always called electricity a black magic because you can't see it.
The only thing that comes to my mind is the terrible wreck that pretty much ended A.J. Foyt's career, and it going straight off the course and into a mound of dirt, and it ruined his legs. And I mean, that's my vision, because I'm not Alec.
Wasn't that Watkins Glen?
I think some place like that, and it was bad. And cut him off, and he's still gimping from that. And I just, it frightens me.
Well, I think chassis construction today has advanced over what was going on in the 90s. The safety capsule that they build around the driver, the way the seat fits and snugs, the way the belts work, the Hans device, they have advanced driver safety so much as well.
Sure.
So is this looked at as an improvement in driver safety, or just in control?
It can, especially for open wheel, because when you think about open wheels as well, whenever they hit, they have to let go of the steering wheel, right? because especially in IndyCar, it is translated exactly immediately to the driver. And so this is one of those things where since there's no connection, you hit a wall or something or hit another car, and the steering doesn't necessarily, it won't
break your wrist.
Yeah, it won't rip your wrist or rip your hands off. Yeah.
Well, I know I see them talk about that in the F1 stuff and in the IndyCar stuff about how they are actually taught to release the wheel. And I actually remember Danica, when she went to NASCAR, them commenting on her because she was plowing into so many walls anyhow that she generally let go of the wheel in the process, which is untypical of the NASCAR driver who's still driving,
still trying
steering
to,
and fighting it down.
Yeah, that's the way I would have until you just mentioned it. That's the way I always thought.
It's a matter of
you're trying to
breaking a thumb, breaking a wrist, breaking an arm, damaging a shoulder from that.
I never thought of it because I've never hit a wall at 150 either.
Alec, have you ever driven an IndyCar?
Not an IndyCar. No, I've driven some open wheels, some Formula Mazdas, but not an IndyCar.
If you were given the chance to drive an IndyCar, would you?
In a heartbeat.
Totally.
In a heartbeat.
I mean, have you put notification out there that, hey, I want to drive one of those?
No, actually, I haven't. Maybe that's the reason why.
You got to raise your hand there, man.
Exactly.
Hey, AJ just lives down the street in Waller.
That's true.
Hockley.
Waller, Hockley.
Yeah. No, I went down the sports car racing route when I was about 13 years old and kind of focused on that. Around that time, it was 2012. The cars were not as safe as they are now with the windscreens, the aero screen, and the halo systems. And so, like what we were just speaking about, how the car safety has increased so much over the last 10 years, even that now it's something that I would really want to do. But at the time, it was just like you had a couple of drivers that passed away within a couple of years, and
I want a body around me.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't both a family thing and a personal thing. Was like, I don't know if I want to do that.
So as you're talking about going to Sebring, are you going to drive? They're going to have some GT4 class going on before the 12 hours, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Are you going to be driving?
No, not in the GT4 class till about middle of the season. We've got some projects. I can't say exactly what it is just yet, but there's some GT4 projects I'm working on in the middle of the season here. And so for me, it's potential I'll be in the race, but we're having to wait and see, basically.
You driven any stock cars out at Houston Motorsports Park on a Saturday night?
No, I haven't. I've actually had a couple of conversations with some guys with late model cars to get into the race. It was actually last summer, but it hadn't lined up with the racing schedule just yet for myself. But it's definitely something I'm.
Well, Gina's got a full tilt schedule over there at Mobile International Speedway, so that's a half-mile banked oval. I mean, we can fix you up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
we know people.
Especially with the new cars that they're running in NASCAR that kind of line up a little bit more with the sports cars that I've been driving. It's been more and more an interest of myself to get into some oval racing and doing some road racing in the stock cars.
See, there you go.
Well, and you get that opportunity to visit with the NASCAR folks, whether it's at primarily going to be at Daytona, but even a little bit at Sebring, where some of that cross-pollination from other series will pop into the race.
Bring your own steering wheel.
Have driver's suit and helmet, will travel.
Both.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
even into IndyCar.
So where do we follow you at your adventures in Sebring?
Yeah, definitely. You can find me on Instagram at Udell, Udell, Alec, or on Facebook, just Alec Udell Racing. Those are the two places that I stay active. Actually, I do some stuff on TikTok now, that's what the kids are all about. And that's the same thing as Instagram. It's at Udell, Alec.
That's what the kids are all about.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Well, I have to tell you, my back is feeling a lot better, and I'm feeling a little bit more confident these days about getting in a go-kart. I know you got a connection.
Yeah, we do. We got the kart track up in Conroe at Houston Karting Complex. So whenever you guys are ready, we have. I heard you talking about Mustang Randy. I assume that's Randy Weldon. We had him out at the track not too long ago as well. So
how did he do going around there?
I was going to say, how did he do?
I think he just hosted an event. I'm not sure if he drove.
Well, we're going to corner him on that one here shortly. Yeah.
Yeah, most
Good.
definitely.
Great, very good.
Alec, it's great to talk to you. Good to see you, my friend, and best of luck
Yeah,
down at
always a pleasure,
Sebring.
guys.
And stay in touch with us. We want to know how you're doing. We want to see you in a driver's suit on a Saturday morning, getting ready to qualify somewhere. And we want that experience with you. Can we do that?
Okay. Yeah, I will. We'll touch base sometime in May and June, and that should be a good time.
perfect.
We get one
to
of your
get that
posse
happen.
to follow you around with the camera, and we'll live vicariously through you.
It'll just be me with like a selfie stick. So is that good?
That'll work. That'll work as well.
But just give a name to the selfie stick. That way you can talk to it while you're going around there.
Thanks, Alec.
Perfect.
Alex, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Talk to you
take care.
soon. Alec Udell.
How fun.
Yeah. Hey, if you'd like to get in touch with us, please shoot us an email. The address is info@inwheeltime.com, and you can send your complaints to mars@inwheeltime.com. And I actually send some during the week.
You do.
I'm
It's great.
constantly complaining about
And
something.
for the first 2 hours before the show goes on the air.
That's pretty much it.
That's the verbal
we don't
beating.
know why he keeps coming back over here because all he gets is a bunch of crap from all of us the entire 2 hours.
I don't give Mike crap. Y'all
Well,
do.
if you go anyplace else to get abuse, you got to pay extra for it.
Yeah, either that or you got to marry it.
One of the two, and that still costs you.
All right.
That's why Don's not.
Wow.
Time now for the racing calendar, and there are some events going on today.
Yeah, well, tomorrow will be the Las Vegas Speedway with NASCAR. That should be a lot of fun.
Is the Xfinity race going to be on today?
Xfinity race
3:30.
is going to be on today. Correct.
FS1 3:30.
Okay.
And then next weekend is the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida.
Yep.
Always a good event.
In the swamp.
In the swamp. And then also next weekend is NASCAR is going to be at Phoenix. 2 weeks from now, Formula One starts on the 20th at Bahrain.
Are they?
Yeah, and I understand Massey has availability for interviews, so maybe we can get Mars to contact him and we can interview the guy that just got fired by Formula One. And then talking to Alec, March 20th.
Should go along with the theme of this show. Somebody's always ticked off at somebody else.
They need to hire me for Formula One. I'll straighten them
Is
out.
the 12 hours of Sebring, and it'd be real interesting to see Alec get an opportunity to put that vehicle
would be great.
on track and stress it and test it with as they bring that kind of technology here to the States. We're talking to him, and I'm thinking about what he's involved in demonstrating. And, yeah, they've kind of brought it up to speed, but he's kind of like a test pilot. And I almost put him at that
Yeah, you
level
would admire that.
as a test pilot to jump behind something that's just not connected.
Well, that's what I was saying. You don't see any old test pilots. You
You know-
don't see any old race car drivers.
I would imagine that it would, for me, there had to be some sort of comfort level in the fact that I would like to have at least, if the system fails, it puts the brakes on it for you, and
Something.
But he also said he's involved in training and schooling. If he's not comfortable with it, I don't think he's getting in the
No,
car.
I don't think so either. And that was interesting to see that he was involved with the wireless stuff back in 19 when he was running BMW over in Europe. So elsewise, March 20th is also the IndyCar up in Texas. So that's it.
Perfect.
On to you.
on Texas.
Up in Fort Worth.
Oh,
IndyCars in Fort Worth.
okay.
I
At the
don't think
Texas Motorplex.
Yeah, I don't think IndyCars come to COTA. I just think right now NASCAR comes to COTA, and last year that was
In Formula One.
that was
A
the boat,
debacle.
the boat barrage.
Debacle.
It was. All right. Time now for our pre-owned car of the
Yes,
week.
yes.
Jeffrey continues his under 20 series with the 2021 VW. Under 20 meaning under $20,000.
Right, under $20,000. This is in 2021. It is a Volkswagen Jetta GLI, Conrad. Now, in 2021, Volkswagen Jetta is a great choice for the buyers seeking a bargain price. It's a fuel-efficient European sedan with room for 5. The Jetta GLI ups the fun factor considerably with a zippy 2-liter turbo engine.
Did you write this?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
I wrote the rest of it, though. Zippy 2-liter engine, entertaining driving dynamics, The Volkswagen Jetta is a 5-seater that comes in 7 trim levels. The most popular style is the S manual, which is right at about $19,000.
S manual transmission?
Yes, which is right at about 19. It's got a 1.4-liter 4-cylinder turbo engine, front-wheel drive. It's estimated to deliver about a 30 mile per gallon. City's 41. It's 30 in the city, 41 on the highway.
Wow.
The pros of this, you've got roomy back seat, engaging ride and handling. It is a base level vehicle. That's why it's under 20 grand.
20,000.
Right. So it's got a fuel efficient. It is pretty, peppy little vehicle. The cons on this is the interior lacks a little bit of refinement. The driver assist features are a little shortcoming, but again, it is a base model and is short on the passing power. But you've got a 4-cylinder turbo.
Yeah, but look at the gas mileage. you get.
Exactly. So overall assessment of this vehicle, being that it's not only under 20, and for your granddaughters, Mike, this would be great. Since you've got
Yeah,
a
I'm
bunch
sure
of them.
they'd love to have that.
Yep. Volkswagen announced it will discontinue the production of the midsize Volkswagen Passat sedan to the U.S. and make room for the Volkswagen ID4 electric crossover SUV.
As soon as they replace the inventory that went down in the
Yes,
boat off
well,
of Portugal.
it's at the bottom of the sea. It's down there with
Ariel.
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob.
In the event of even with the rapid rise of the SUV sales, the Jetta has been the best-selling Volkswagen sedan for years. The current version of the Jetta, introduced in 2019 model, it does possess the styling. It doesn't possess the styling of the Hyundai Elantra, but it does have the little bit of the interior materials, up-level, all-wheel drive of the Mazda, the Toyota. Toyota Prius, I should say, and of course the Corolla Hybrid, which all are going to be featured upcoming. If they're under 20,000, we're going to be talking about them. It is the GLI versions are some of the most fun to drive. Entries among the sport compact sedan include the Honda. If it's under 20, we'll talk about it, and the Subaru WRX.
We'll talk about it.
So
talk
looking for
about it.
volunteers of under 20, huh?
Under 20.
Well,
So those are all great choices.
I will tell
for
you,
Mike.
I remember when they had a Jetta in the press fleet a couple of years ago, and that particular car, it didn't have a manual. I had the automatic transmission, but I liked it. It was a solid German car, and it
The chassis.
it drove that way. It drove like a BMW does or other German cars. It has that certain feel of a German car,
Connected,
and it's
firm.
yes, and it's really a nice car. I mean, whatever it is about the interior, and
Yeah, but again, it's a 21 model, under 20 grand.
to heck with the grandkids. Are you kidding me? I'd drive that car as a regular everyday driver.
Well, you like a shifter anyhow.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
And that whatever.
And you could put a Hurst in it later on if you
No,
want.
I ain't going to put no Hurst in that. But I will tell you that the motor was fine. It may be underpowered for a lot of people. Wasn't underpowered for me.
You're looking at mileage.
You're right. And that's what you sacrifice. Not so much with an electric car, but if you're going to stomp on the throttle, then you know darn good and well that the battery life is going to go down for that particular charge.
Yep.
So if you're that kind of person, then you are.
Buy it.
Buy it today.
Buy it for your
You know,
grandkids.
that's a nice looking shirt you have on there.
Thank
That's
you.
a Goodyear racing shirt.
Yeah, I got this at Homestead when Goodyear sent us down there for the week for the Homestead race at NASCAR.
It was very nice. Yeah.
I
didn't-
thought Kathy bought it for you.
No, I didn't have my Goodyear hat. My Goodyear hat's put away because it's got racing
autograph.
signatures. It's got a bunch.
Really?
Yeah.
Like who?
NHRA.
Oh, NHRA.
NHRA.
Okay.
Yeah, it took me 2 years to get that hat filled up.
I have so many signed hats through the years that were all this Oldsmobile stuff. If I didn't make a note on the underside of the brim, I couldn't tell you who signed them. I know a couple of them because you can barely read the signature. You can always read John Force's because his J and his F are very pronounced. Outside of that, I know I've got like some Larry Morgan, some
Yep.
Mark Power.
I've got a hat
Warren
that's,
Johnson, can't read any of them.
we've
I've got
got-
one from Blaine Johnson.
Continental sent us to Uvalde, Texas for the tire tests, and they also sent us to Coda, and I met Michael Shank Racing,
Yep.
who now has won 24 Hours of Daytona twice. I knew or talked to and was exposed to Michael Shank back when he was doing not the full circuit, but in partial circuits, sort of like what Alec does. I met him like that version, and then now he's
Top tier
you
guy.
bet, top tier guy.
We're certainly hoping that the weather's going to hold for us when we do the tailpipes and tacos coming up. Really looking forward to it. You know, the one in December was canceled because of the weather. And not because it was cold, but because of the rain. And nobody's going to show up for that. And so we're hoping that the clouds will open.
Well, we have 2 weeks.
I know, 2 weeks. But so our viewers that participate in the show,
Plan on being there. It's going to be a good show.
He's doing it again. Well, we're going to get rid of the cold weather next week, and then boom, it'll be ready.
No, it's going to be cold next week.
It'll get past us, and then the event.
Because we know how much we can trust 14-day forecasting of the weather.
Oh,
in Houston.
yeah. 5-day, 7-day.
24 hours.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. But at any rate, so we've got that coming up. It looks like we are going to be at the NHRA Spring Nationals, the last one here at Houston, Baytown.
The grand finale.
Grand finale, yep. And I think Keels and Wheels. And I have the fabulous and famous Hot Rod Tour of Texas coming up at the end of April
bet.
that I will be on. And I will be going and actually doing some video for you boys.
Turning Mike on and Don off.
You know,
Push it twice.
you have no idea what
We
goes
need to
on here.
We need to
but-
put a picture next to the button.
No, what we need to do is we just need to go to a break is what we need to do. The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available on your favorite podcast channel. In Wheel Time Car Show continues after this quick break.
Saturday, March 19th, 2022 is the premiere of the all-new Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos kicks off a new seasonal format, and first up is the Spring Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m., Saturday, March 19th. Tailpipes and Tacos will award trophies for the best hot rod, best classic, and best modern classic, so make plans now. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise in, and this is where you'll enjoy seeing the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, along with Lupi Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and all cars will automatically compete for custom Lupi trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Get your ride ready for the all-new Spring Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, March 19th. It's going to be a huge car show, and spectators are welcome. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show will be there, too. Let's celebrate the arrival of spring and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday morning, March 19th, 8 to 11 a.m. at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy. We'll see you then, weather permitting.
Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net. Welcome to In Wheel Time, your place for entertaining car talk. Just ahead, Conrad has his weekly lesson in the car clinic. We'll have this week's auto news. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us today. And joining us right now, as a matter of fact, Mustang Madman Randy Weldon. Were your ears burning, Randy?
Yes, they were, as a matter of fact.
Well, and do you know why they were burning?
No, actually, I don't. I was sitting here staring, looking for Suze. She finally came out from under the table.
Yeah, and they should have been burning because we were talking about you with Alec Udell and your go-karting experience up there at his go-kart track.
He wouldn't tell us how well you did,
that's
so
a good
we're
event
asking
out there.
you.
Yeah, so how did you do in your mind?
On the track.
How what?
How did you do at the go-kart track at Alec Udell's place?
we were doing a tour with Woodlands Car Club out at Gullos Dam, and Alex and Dennis Graham were out there, and that they were trying to get an event organized, and so we kind of offered to organize a monthly karting event, combined with a cruise-in. The cruise-in hasn't been really that successful, but the karting event has taken off and become a little league of its own.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So you didn't actually get on the track in a kart?
I have not.
Why not?
That's what we were wondering about.
Guys at my age, I don't recover like I used to when I get out of a rough riding vehicle, you know?
I hear you.
And for me, I could probably get in the cart, but get a lift to get me out of the cart. I can't get up from something that low to the ground. My knees just don't work. So tell us about, is it next weekend? No, it's tomorrow morning, Coffee and Cars with a Cause.
Yeah, this weekend's Coffee and Cars for a Cause, the Woodlands TWCC. Woodlands Cars and Coffee for a Cause, or Coffee and Cars for a Cause.
Where is it?
Can't wait to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning and go do that.
Woodlands. And
Woodlands, it takes up miles of territory. Where in the Woodlands is it?
9595 Six Pines Drive in the Woodlands, Texas.
Oh, that narrows it
Yeah,
down.
Conrad, you got that.
If
you've ever been out to the Woodlands, Don, they have Market Square out there.
Yes.
Or Market Street.
Yep.
And it's actually in the Market Street.
Thank you.
And
everybody checks in at the Starbucks, and then it's right across from the Hyatt Centric.
And then what is the charity of choice tomorrow?
Conrad, I can see you talking, but I can't hear you.
Okay, ask him. What's the charity for tomorrow?
What is the charity?
It's whatever you want to donate.
No, I mean, what is the charity?
Dana, who originated
it doesn't make any difference. So, are you going to bring one of your Mustangs?
I may or may not tomorrow. I don't know if I'll drive the truck or the Mustang.
Okay. Have you just backed out of the whole Mustang thing? Is that kind of what it is? You just gone to the social side of things?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I'm still involved on. I'm still on the national board. I still do a lot of Mustang stuff and help organize things.
Okay. Well, just checking. I mean, there was a time that you were deeper into it, shall we say
heavier,
locally.
Yeah. Well, I was president of the Northside Mustang Car Club for 4 years, and so I really dedicated myself to making that a very what do I want to say? A very out there club.
Successful.
We did stuff every weekend. A lot of times we did stuff during the week, but on my Fridays would kick off, at 5 o'clock and run all the way through Sunday with just nonstop events. But it was a thing where I like seeing people have smiles on their faces, and that put a lot of smiles on a lot of people's faces. They get off work and it was something they could get away from and just have a good time and relax. Enjoy, other people that had like interests. It's a lot of fun.
Are you still wrenching on your own cars, Randy?
Am I still what, Don?
Are you wrenching on your own cars?
So I haven't actually wrenched on a car probably since sometime in the 1990s. Somebody made a remark to me one time that they could make more money doing what they do good and paying somebody else to wrench on their cars.
So you do exactly that. Randy
Yes, sir.
He's plugging and unplugging a zillion wires.
Oh, he's Mike Mars.
Well, I think you do big complex TV systems. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do. If you ever stay at a hotel and you see the electronic program guide, I basically create and build those guides, install the systems that make them work.
So you're the one to blame for
or
the
if you're in a hospital, same thing.
To blame for the 38-1 and the 39-3 patterns.
Dot, yeah.
Yeah, instead of say KPRC or KTRK, instead of channel 13 showing up at 31-1. I tell it to show up at 13.
And then, how many people are you guys expecting tomorrow at the Woodlands?
If the weather's good tomorrow, if it rains, it becomes a different story. But if the weather's good, that location actually fills up at about 150 cars. But what we've noticed is when I originally got involved with Dana Pritchard with this back in 2012, she started it in 2009. But when I got involved in 2012, people were starting to show up about 8 o'clock in the morning. Now we get there before 6.
Just to find
People are
space.
in line already at, before 6. We start letting them in at 6:30. And the people that come early have a tendency to leave starting about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then other people come in a little later. And actually, they keep the location full the entire time up until 11 o'clock.
Wow. And there's no entry fee, but you do ask for a donation, correct?
It's just a donation. There's no fee. It's a cruise in, but it's a cruise in for a cause. So everything goes to charity. It's any denomination you want to donate. We have people come up with bags of change. Dana likes taking dollar bills. I'll take a penny and higher. No fractions of a penny.
But bills with multiple zeros.
Pardon me?
Bills with multiple zeros would be welcome as well.
You'd be surprised how many people actually donate some fairly large amounts.
Well, I don't know that I'd be that surprised. I find that the automotive community as a whole is very philanthropic. They find those causes that touch their heart, and they're very connected to them.
Theoretically, they do that.
Theoretically. You have to learn how to pronounce it.
The nice thing about TWCC is every quarter, the Market Street Association chooses the charity. And so every quarter that charity changes. Last quarter it was Yes to Youth. I'd have to look and see what this quarter is. I think it's St. Baldrick's, I believe. But anyhow, that's just a monthly event we enjoy doing. I've been helping pull the clubs together so that the local Mustang clubs can attend the Mecum auction at the end of March. And then you kick off April, you go into car show season again. Actually, car show season here seems to have become all year long now.
Yeah.
But in April, I believe April 9th, you've got the Mustang Club of Houston car show. May 8th over in Beaumont, you've got the Wild Horse Mustang Club car show over there. So, we all get busy this time of year. You guys know that.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the car show that takes place tomorrow, the cruise in, is it all cars welcome or is it Mustangs?
No, it's open to every make and model.
Yeah. And what are the majority of cars that show up out there?
For a long time, we had a lot of Mustangs coming in. I think before that, they had a lot of Camaros coming in. Here recently, we've had a lot of Corvettes coming in. But it's a pretty good mix. I mean, you've got vehicles from Europe that are over here. You've got vehicles that I don't know where they came from that show up. It's a really good mix of cars. You've got some of the high-end European sports cars as well.
Well, yeah, it is the Woodlands.
It's a nice mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine that the majority of the folks that come in for that cruise in live in the area.
You know what, Don? You'd be shocked. We've got people. Jeff Krawl's one of the guys who lives down in Richmond, Texas, that drives up every now and then. We've got people that come up from Pearland, Sugarland. I'm actually shocked a lot of times when some of the people show up.
Well, it also speaks to the quality of the event as well. It's consistent. Everybody knows where it is and when it is.
Well, and it's rain or shine, so we're there no matter what. One of the really big things is everybody really kind of respects each other, and you don't have a lot of burnout, so they respect the facility. Well, actually, I don't think we've had a burnout per se. Engine revving is kept to a minimum. One time we had a group of young kids come through, and this is one time since I've been involved in 2012. just some group of kids that had never been there before came in. They came in a little fast. We asked them to slow down. There was a little verbal altercation. A little bit of pushing and shoving started, and the police showed up and gave them a choice. They could leave and not go to jail, or they could stay and go to jail. So they left reasonably quick.
Well, and then
this is an adult event you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, they expect people to behave like adults. But that's again what makes it a quality event. You know,
Well, not
some
only
of
that,
these
but
crazy
also
things.
the venue itself, because you're parked in front of all those shops, and it's a quaint area of the Woodlands. It's back behind the mall, and it's really a cool event. And I think that just the venue itself lends to a nice, comfortable morning to gather and talk with friends and people that
And I'm
like
sure-
what you do.
And I'm sure Starbucks and all of the restaurants in the area love you guys.
Oh, they do. They do. We've got quite a few restaurants that surround that place. And then, as Dawn said, you've got the green in the middle of the place that people can actually, it's just very relaxing to sit there in the mornings.
Yeah, no doubt. Randy, it's always
a
great.
nice venue.
It's always great to talk to you. We thank you for taking the time. By the way, that calendar behind you,
I was gonna
it's
say.
March now.
Yeah.
Just thought I would say it.
2022.
It's a 2022 calendar, but
I'm
it
just
does.
making sure
know-
he knew that.
Did you just
That'll
put?
give you an idea how hard that'll give you an idea how much I've been focused on getting these servers back online with the electronic program guides.
Okay.
Electronic calendars, they
Well,
work
I'm going
too.
to change that now that you've mentioned it.
Say hey
All
to
right.
Danny
These
for us.
servers back online with the electronic program. I will do that.
Okay.
Electronic calendars, they work
I'm going
too.
to change that now. Thank you, gentlemen.
Say
Thanks,
hey to
Randy.
Danny for us.
Servers back online with the electronic program. I will do that.
So
Electronic
join them
calendars,
tomorrow.
they work too.
Change that now. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Servers back online with the electronic program.
I
will
don't
do that.
know where
join them
all of
tomorrow.
that is coming from, but I'm going to turn my my
Like
laptop.
Max Headroom.
Max Headroom, yeah. So, all right, time now for Conrad's Car Clinic. What's in the Car Clinic today?
Well, remember last week we talked about the recall.
I don't remember last week. Are you kidding? I can barely remember how I got out of bed this morning.
Are you off of Prevagen?
I was going to prednisone.
Prednisone.
Cosequin.
You know, we talked last week about the recalls about the automatic emergency braking system. So I thought this week we talk a lot about what they are and how they work. AEB, automatic emergency braking, is an active braking system that activates the car's brakes when a potential collision is detected. As its name suggests, it works automatically. You don't really have to do anything. And I don't believe there's a defeat switch in most cars that you can actually turn it off. But it's going to apply the brakes at a force that the car determines is necessary to avoid the collision. The system may detect other vehicles. It's designed to detect other vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists, and mitigate crashes by initiating the braking when hazardous conditions arise. And many times it's because the driver's just not paying attention. But it also, if you're braking too soft for the imposing accident ahead of you, the system will apply the brakes even harder, even to the point of going into ABS. You know, so it's somewhat all connected within a couple other systems. You know, another part of that is called forward collision warning. When your car suddenly stops on its own, it's using the AEB to do that. But sometimes it's also flashing lights and trying to get you to pay attention. And then you have automatic reverse emergency braking that's out there as well. So, you know, when you're in reverse and there's cross traffic going on, it's going to sense that and apply the brakes and keep you from driving into it. Now, how the system works is it uses, and different manufacturers go about it different ways, radars on the front of the vehicle, on the rear of the vehicle, sometimes in the bumpers, sometimes in the windshield, and cameras on the front and the rear of the vehicle to determine what's out there, how fast the vehicle is going, and how hard the brakes have to be applied to avoid the accident. And all those parameters are pre-calculated into the vehicle, and that's why sometimes, you know, you might get an intermittent application of, you know, I don't know, something as simple as a bug getting into, or a couple of bugs getting into some of those sensors, or getting the sensors to activate. But the cameras, if it's a camera system, you need to kind of keep the car clean. Those cameras don't work through a lot of mud and debris, especially on somebody who lives out there in Neederville.
Oh.
Yeah, and all the construction on I-10 that's never ending.
And love bug season coming.
So the software is trying to calculate the potential of the crash, and all of the systems are meant to work together, and that is the forward collision warning, the automatic braking, the automatic reverse braking, and more and more cars are coming with that as standard equipment.
All right. Thank you, sir. Some of the stories making automotive news headlines. Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares has one word to describe the sound that will come from Dodge's upcoming electric muscle car. Shocking is the word.
Oh.
As the Hellcat era comes to a close, the Dodge team working on creating a sound that will provide the backdrop for a new age of performance. Tavares, citing the company's market research, said consumers in their 30s are open to the idea of electric muscle. Dodge said it will release its first battery electric muscle car in 2024. The brand will show an electric concept this year. Chrysler plans to launch its first battery electric by 2025 and do away with internal combustion engines by 2028. Good luck on that.
Oh, I don't know. I think Chrysler, Stellantis, and Dodge are going to be so far ahead of the program. Think about it. What are they doing? They're taking an 800 horsepower engine out and putting in something electric that's going to be more powerful and have more torque at the hit. Because to me, Dodge and Mopar in general is a little bit on the I'm crazy side of performance cars and trucks. Offering to the public 700 plus horsepower is not uncommon. And now I'm driving around, I'm seeing all these Hellcats on the street, and I'm like, I wonder if that person has any clue how fast that car really is. And now they're going to go EV, where it's even that much more powerful. I think they're going to create a class all to themselves.
But to do away completely with the internal combustion engine?
I don't know that anybody's going to do away with it completely. I know there's talk about it, but, and the talk's getting louder as we approach $5, $6, and $7 a gallon gasoline.
I think that eventually that will come back down.
Oh, I do too.
Once people get back in their right mind and allow us to open up the oil spigot here in the United States as opposed to importing it from Russia and Iran.
It still comes back to this is not a consumer-driven market change.
The EVs in general?
Right.
I think there is a consumer-driven component of it, but it's way smaller than they're
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
alleging.
The consumer drive to change the entire market to do away with combustion engines in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, that demand is not there. There are external forces that are driving that.
Don said gas prices are going up. You don't think that natural gas and electricity is not going up? It's going up too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it all is.
It's going to hurt across the board.
We did a story a few weeks ago about that very thing and the fact that, I'm going to get me an EV and I'm going to save all this money. When, in essence, it's not true. It does cost more to own an electric vehicle when you go to plug it in than it does to, at least at the time we had the story.
Well, I think electric rates are going up proportionately, too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they will be. But, they're a little bit behind. But, yes, we will.
But we're already seeing it. The provider that we have over there.
Who is the provider over there?
Entergy.
What?
Entergy. Entergy. Yeah, they're based out of Louisiana.
Yeah,
but
we know.
They on their billing system, it shows the fuel charge, and that changes as whatever it costs. And as the price of fuel to run the generators goes up, one of our bills, it basically doubled. But the amount of
fuel cost doubled.
Well, the fuel cost is what caused the bill to double. Yes, because the amount of electricity we used was less than 1% difference, but the bill was double because of the fuel charges going up.
I paid $3.75 a gallon yesterday.
Wow.
My wife paid $3.80.
What did you do? Stop at the 7-Eleven where it's $5 a gallon?
No, I stopped at a Valero off of Dowling in the middle of Beaumont.
I caught Walmart the other day at $3.18, but I had to sit in line 20 minutes to get it.
$3.29 I paid.
And if we pay attention, it's going up every day.
Oh, yeah.
Kathy pointed that out where she
100
drove by a gas station in the morning and it was like 15 cents more at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And what would they hit? $117 a barrel yesterday.
118.
118 yesterday.
Thought you had Larry, Darrell, and Darrell provider out there.
Larry, Darrell, and Darrell.
Well, they're down the street.
That's the alternative.
Yeah.
And the suburbs. General Motors has sold its stake in beleaguered EV startup Lordstown Motors. GM invested in Lordstown in August 2022, quote, help facilitate the sale of the plant and help give the company an opportunity to restart production. Yeah, sure.
I'm hoping GM got their
Yeah,
money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
Because they've done plenty of things in the past where they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got to remember, General Motors owned Lotus for a period of time.
You know, I love the way that the PR machine at General Motors generates crap like that. You're going to believe that? Really? Who wrote that?
Spend all this money for your benefit.
The Spinmeisters.
Well, yeah, and you know, they say that because they want to make sure that the stockholders are going, oh, they're doing a great job.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Where's my dividend?
A number of corn and soybean growers associations, the American Fuel and Petrochemical Manufacturers and others, are challenging the EPA's tougher vehicle emissions rules. Corn growers, a Valero Energy subsidiary, and other ethanol producers said the new EPA rules revising emission requirements through 2026, quote, effectively mandate the production and sale of electric cars rather than cars powered by internal combustion engines. The EPA did not immediately comment.
There is a case that's about to be presented before the Supreme Court to reduce the amount of EPA ability to write regulation because they think that the EPA has become over-regulating the industry right now.
The EPA rules reverse former President Donald Trump's rollback of car pollution cuts and aim to speed a U.S. shift to more EVs. Biden wants 50% of all new vehicles sold in 2030 to be EV or plug-in hybrid models, but has not endorsed California's plan to phase out new gas-powered light-duty vehicles by 2035. There's going to be a war there.
Well, and is the administration really upset at $7, $8, $9, $10 a gallon gasoline?
And didn't they just
'Cause that
nominate
drives their-
They don't care.
nominate a new person for the EPA in his administration?
I believe so.
I think they did. Then that's the cause.
The cargo ship that caught fire in the Atlantic while transporting roughly 4,000 Volkswagen Group vehicles in the U.S. has sunk despite efforts to tow it to safety. The Felicity Ace sank 220 nautical miles off the coast of Portugal's Azores Islands around 9 a.m. local time on Tuesday after being battered by waves and leaning 45 degrees to its starboard side, according to the ship's operator. Hasta luego.
Does it mean-
Volkswagen had VW, Porsche, Audi, Bentley, and Lamborghini branded models on the vessel, which was on its way to Rhode Island from Germany's Emden port when the fire broke out on February the 16th. In a projection, assuming all vehicles would be lost, the risk modeling company Russell Group last week estimated that the incident could cost the automaker at least $155 million. About $438 million worth of goods were aboard the ship, $401 million of which were cars.
Well, I think we talked about before the show that they think they lost all the vehicles. Well, they don't really know. I still assume that of the 24 sailors that were on that ship, at least 25 vehicles were transferred to something else, and they took the Bentleys and Lamborghinis and take them home with them.
And all of those vehicles are going to be under 20 grand.
And I'm wondering,
No doubt.
I'm wondering what's going to be washing up on the shores of the Azores Islands
yeah.
in a few years.
But
Yeah.
there's no telling what's going to be
Depending on how deep it
exuded
is.
from those cars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And how deep did it go down?
So
Yeah, that they didn't say. They don't. I don't
how
know
deep it is there.
Yeah.
When you said that it was going to cost the manufacturer,
That means that it's going to cost the manufacturer. There's got to be a
insurance claim.
deductible.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And so the manufacturer pays one price, but the insurance company is going to
Pay
pay
the rest.
Yeah.
What if there's gap insurance on that?
Yeah,
No,
think
only when
about that.
Only when you buy it.
Well, I know, but I don't. I've been trying to find some place where it talks about the insurer carrier for that, because a lot of companies,
Lloyd's of London, probably.
well, a lot of companies are self-insured on some of those big numbers, because
And it could very well be.
and that's the reason that I thought it was
But
interesting.
it would be a different company that self-insured it under the umbrella of, say, for instance, Volkswagen.
Right.
It wouldn't be Volkswagen themselves. I mean, it would be their insurance company under their umbrella. Now, when GM used to have.
Oh, GM still does it to this day.
Do they?
They're
Yeah.
totally self-insured, but they're self-insured under the name of another company.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but I guess my point is it's coming out of their pocket, not
Yeah.
the insurance company.
Well, the insurance company. Yes, I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I think it's the insurance.
Ultimately, the insurance company pays the claim, but Volkswagen is funding the insurance company through other means. But yes,
Theoretically.
it's all
Theoretically.
It's all interconnected. So, we started talking about the Hellcat. You know that the Dodge is no longer going to make Challenger Hellcats with a manual transmission as of April.
I didn't know they.
Wow.
I didn't know they were producing them.
Yeah, it
with
was special
manuals.
order.
Special order.
You could still get them with a
Why, I don't
6-speed.
even know why you'd. If I had a choice, I would buy manual transmission. Shifts faster with the automatic.
Oh, way faster.
Well,
Way faster.
and you got a little more control over
And
it.
dude, boom, 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 boom,
And
boom.
you
Those,
still-
it
you
hits
still have
those
the
gears
paddles,
hard,
too.
man.
Well, and if you try and paddle shift it, I mean, you've got to pay attention because it hits so fast.
yeah.
You know, you're better
You're
off
up on
just
the
leaving
rev
it,
limiter.
just drive and go.
But you wouldn't know that any of the models that you had.
No, I couldn't tell you.
And
that
you
for
also
a
heard
fact.
that Ford is again cutting production of Navigators, Expeditions, and Super Duty pickup trucks because of chip shortages.
Quick break now. You're on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show.
Saturday, March 19th, 2022 is the premiere of the all-new Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos kicks off a new seasonal format, and first up is the Spring Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m., Saturday, March 19th. Tailpipes and Tacos will award trophies for the best hot rod, best classic, and best modern classic, so make plans now. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise in, and this is where you'll enjoy seeing the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, along with Lupi Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and all cars will automatically compete for custom Lupi trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Get your ride ready for the all-new Spring Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, March 19th. It's going to be a huge car show, and spectators are welcome. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show will be there, too. Let's celebrate the arrival of spring and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday morning, March 19th, 8 to 11 a.m. at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net.
Welcome to In Wheel Time, the Car Talk Show. Coming up, Mike Mars reviews our new car of the week, the 2022 Lexus ES300H,
Nice.
meaning hybrid.
Hot?
Hot.
I think it means hybrid.
Plus, we'll have the upcoming events calendar along with this week's auto news headlines and car talk galore.
Galore.
Galore, remember her?
Ava Galore?
No.
Zsa Zsa Galore?
No, I was thinking
Bond
the
movie.
James Bond woman by the name of Pussy Galore.
Oh,
Remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
I love Barbara Bach.
Was she the original one?
She's married to Ringo Starr.
I understand that. Who was the
Barbara
original?
Bach, yeah.
And they own a coffee place called Starbuck.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Laughing at his own jokes.
That was fun. That was a
Howdy,
fun
along
one.
with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us on this Saturday for our live show. Of course, we do podcasts, and if you're listening on a podcast, it's not Saturday. It's probably Thursday. If you're listening on a podcast, wouldn't that be right?
See where we're
Never
at.
mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Don't
somewhere
even
out there.
don't even think about
because
that.
Friday would be the bottom of the hour.
So we
Yes.
have an open segment here. We don't have a guest, but this is where it all hangs out, so to speak. And we usually get ourselves in trouble some way or another.
So join in.
So join in, and we'll start with trouble for the automakers because there are some recalls to tell you about. The 2015 through 2017 Ford Mustang being recalled for a blank or distorted rear view camera image.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
As that becomes standard, it becomes recalled because it's considered a safety device.
Yep. Well, it started out as that.
Ford Mustang from 21 to 22 being recalled because of the passenger knee airbag it may deploy improperly. So in other words,
That'd be interesting.
it would be. Is it going to blow up,
No,
down?
it blows down to keep your knees from.
Right.
And
So
use
is it going to shoot down at your feet or something?
Submarining under the.
The incorrect tire pressure information in the owner's manual is incorrect, so they're recalling that,
And that-
on the Audi e-tron GT 2022 model.
And that being what's called a compliance recall. The airbag is a safety recall. But go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the
that's going
book.
to feed into a story I'm going to talk about as well.
They're not
Well, you
recalling
can
it as a
do
car.
the story now if you want
Well,
to.
you know, there's two kinds of primary recalls that federal government puts out. Safety recalls is safety, somebody's going to get hurt, you know, here it is, and the government says you will recall it. Those are typically the ones that we won't have parts for 6 months type of recalls
Right.
because, you know, they found a safety defect and now the manufacturer has to develop and validate a repair for that safety defect. And to a degree, Takata being a safety recall, they were just replacing the same airbag with the same airbag, just it isn't as rusty as the old one was, to where now the Takata recall, the airbag, the metal componentry is different, metallurgy, so it doesn't corrode the way it does. And then there's compliance recalls. Now, compliance recall, the federal government will have a conversation with the manufacturer about being out of compliance, and they may bounce back and forth, and it may or may not get recalled.
what
depending
kind
on-
of compliance? Give me an example.
Well, this one, the tire pressure on the
book
on the book is off, so that's kind of compliance. You didn't follow the rules, or you didn't write something down.
Didn't get the
correctly.
right information
Typo.
down.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're
so
supposed to.
sometimes those will get recalled, sometimes they won't. I mention that because General Motors just lost its not lawsuit, but its bid with the EPA, with the NHTSA about headlights being too bright. So
yes.
and that's a compliance recall. General Motors was saying, no, this isn't an issue, and NHTSA was saying your headlights are too bright for the factory. You know, think about that. There's a level of lumens that are allowed by the manufacturer.
I dated one.
A luminary. And now General Motors has been fighting this for a number of years, and they're going to have to recall 727,000 small SUVs because the headlight beams can be too bright and cause glare for oncoming drivers. I think it's ironic that the manufacturer is held to a level, but the aftermarket isn't, because you look at some of these headlights coming
Yep.
at you
Saw 'em
down
this
the road,
morning, yeah.
You know, it's
Almost like they got
beyond
brights.
distracting,
Yeah.
right? You know, and now they've added all these little neon things and stuff. It's a lot of light coming at
I'm
you.
having some new headlights installed on my Corvette today.
As a matter of fact, yeah.
Are you putting the LEDs in?
Yes.
I put LEDs in my truck, but not the bright blue
super
ones.
brights.
Yeah, no, and it made a big difference. I was surprised.
This is not just the actual bulb. This is the entire
Housing and casing.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
wow.
these.
Seal beam.
Yeah, these are not sealed beams. These are going to be projector headlights.
Yeah, I think you're going to love them because it's going to be a whiter light versus what you have now, which is a bit of a yellow light. They're going to be much brighter. They're going to reach out better. You may have to go get them adjusted correctly. So,
I can't find anybody that does that anymore. Remember, that used to be a thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's part of the inspection.
Yeah, well, it's not anymore because nobody.
It's all safety. It's all emissions inspections in our county. You'd have to go out of the county to get safety inspection. Well, you guys are safety inspection over there.
Yeah, we don't have the
But as that
sticking something up your ear and
the light, oh gosh, the amount of light put out.
Just a moment.
No, I don't want to go back to that. The amount of light put out by your new
It's a
headlights,
tailpipe probe.
your new headlights may actually exceed the federal standard. But nobody's going to bother you. Well, nobody's going to bother with that because those are aftermarket lights where GM on their trucks had to worry about.
I did a lot of research on these headlights, and they seem to be the most popular replacement for Corvette headlights. I have to tell you that the headlights in my C5 Corvette are absolutely the worst headlight. I had better headlights in the C3 Corvette than this thing. It was awful. I've replaced the bulbs in these and put some halogen bulbs in it. Nothing.
Didn't help.
Terrible. Just absolutely terrible.
Well, the new LEDs should be a big upgrade for you.
Well, I'm hoping.
And
why am I doing it now? Because I'm going on the hot rod tour of Texas.
Makes sense.
How much?
How much?
Yeah, what did it all cost?
$700 and about $800.
And then simple install, relatively simple install.
The guy that
ask after he gets it done.
he's going to help me do the actually he's going to do the installation, and I'm going to pay him a few bucks to do that.
Yeah.
But based on Jeff and my experience of
the shifter,
putting in the shifter,
I
thought
pay a professional.
Yeah, and not only that, I don't want to sit on the concrete because the headlights are just a couple of feet off the concrete, if that. I don't want to sit on the concrete and have to jack around with that and being bent over all the time trying to get in those headlight buckets and mess with all that.
Makes sense.
See, that would be, to me, that would be the biggest problem would be how do you get them in there and secure them
and wire them? Because you've got to, is it a plug and play with the existing? Oh, it is. Well, that wouldn't be too bad. I wouldn't want to sit on
But you have to understand, those headlights are mechanical. They have doors on them, and it's relatively simple operation. But you screw it up, and it doesn't become a simple operation anymore, as we found out.
Oh, yeah. You'd be going down the road. Let me turn on my lights. They
Well,
may
because
come
there
on
are-
and they don't open.
There are adjustments to be made in there that are available to be made. I don't want to make any adjustments because the doors are nice and level with the body of the car. So I know my limits.
plug and play the lights.
Yeah.
That's all you want to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I just thought, people hear about recalls, and there is a difference between a compliance and a safety, and the process for the recall happening can be under discussion with compliance, but not safety.
You talked about the rear view camera early on. Do y'all use that? I don't. I don't think that's a feature that I'm
Well, my
comfortable
car
with.
doesn't have
Well, I don't have it. When I had the Ford, I used it all the time.
I was going to
loved
say,
it.
yeah. This
I
car
loved
that
it.
I'm driving out there now, I just got the rear view camera, and when I put it in reverse, I always use that camera.
Yeah.
Always.
I use the camera way more than I use my mirrors.
Yes.
Well, I'll use a kind of a combination of both, but I put that cover on the truck so that we could, wrap it and stuff. And there's another thing to look out the back glass. You can't really see much by the time you look through there. So it's either the side mirrors or the camera. And the camera
You know
just
that
works.
you can buy cameras in the aftermarket
Sure.
for your car if it doesn't have one. It goes right on the license plate, and they're very tiny. You really don't notice them.
I gave my son one for Christmas for his truck because he didn't have one. And works great.
Yeah. I've been thinking about getting an actual video camera for the car that mounts on the windshield.
Like a
Just
dash
use your
cam?
phone.
Kind of like a dash cam, yes. But it mounts to
Posting them on YouTube.
it mounts to the windshield, looks forward, and then they also have a version of it that looks forward and then also looks at you. And it's basically to save your butt from insurance claims. So, when somebody runs into you.
You have it on film.
Yep.
But you can also do your car karaoke that way, too. As you're going down the
Yeah,
road
there
and
you
you're
go.
singing, then you'll have...
No, he does
thing.
that in the helicopter.
Well, that would be a different one, though.
He's sick.
And the one in the bedroom would be
He is.
different. And the
I
one in the
told him he
living
was
room would
sick
be
this
different.
morning, but I used other words.
I do have the Suze cam in the house.
Yeah, that's
The Suze cam. so I can look and see how she's doing or where she is in the house.
So do you watch her when you're out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we've asked at dinner, wait, let's check on the
So,
Susan.
his house is wired with cameras.
No, it has one camera. It's a Wi-Fi, so we'll dial into it right now, shall we?
And you can
She's
make
out-
it rotate and
She's out here. but-
change directions, can't you?
Yeah. It's nice. It's in color, and
I'm wondering which room it's in.
it's in the living room. Thank you for asking. There's the picture of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right by the
nice.
TV. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to move it, then you just
Or show the camera.
there you go.
Very good.
Yeah, there you go. See, it works great.
So you
And it
said
wasn't very expensive.
you were also wanting to maybe talk a little bit about.
I'm not done with the recalls
That's
yet.
why I didn't finish my statement.
Volkswagen Atlas and Atlas Cross Sport from the 2018 through 2021 model years. It has a reduced GVWR label that's missing.
Again, compliance.
Gross vehicle weight rating, I
Right.
guess.
Like that's
Like it.
so important, right?
Yeah. Does anybody even look at that?
Nope.
Damaged drive shaft may fracture in the Ford Super Duties 250 and 350 from the 2017 through 2022 model years. That could be a huge safety issue because if it fractures and you're going down the freeway towing that front end loader or whatever it is you're towing down there, that drive shaft could sit underneath there and
Depending
whip.
on which end fractures, flopping around would be good. Pole vaulting the rear of the vehicle would be
There's
a bad
that, too.
thing. Well, and that is only because they use the aluminum shaft on the gas-powered Super Duties. The diesels had a different drive shaft in them.
And nothing worse than getting the shaft.
Fuel filler tube may detach. Oops. On the Ford E350 and the E450 for 21 and 22. That's not good.
Everybody say it. Thermal event.
Chevrolet Corvette from 21 to 22, the rear half shaft assemblies are missing ball bearings. You would think that you'd be able to hear that or feel that if it's missing ball bearings.
See, and no, I
Grinding.
won't go there. Got to be a joke in there about Corvette owners and missing something.
And old men.
Well, the funny thing is when the C5 came out, they had issues with the rear axle shafts as well. So I find it just unbelievable that on the C8 that they have the same half shaft axle.
I have another thermal event recall. Kia Optima for 2013 through 2014, low pressure fuel hose may leak.
That's definitely a thermal event waiting to happen.
Front airbags may not deploy on the 2014 Kia Soul. It's being recalled. Mercedes-Benz GLE 350 for 2020, unsecured wiring may deactivate fused components. Thermal event.
Yeah.
In the Porsche Taycan 2020 to 2021, child seat anchors may be obstructed.
Yeah, they're
Somebody put the
obstruct-
carpet over the top
I
of
was
them.
going to say they're going to be obstructed by coral in the bottom of the Azores because the
That's right.
Taycan was one of those
Yep.
those vehicles. That is their electric Panamera, I believe. Ford-
Speaking of electric, electric vehicles' share of new vehicle auto financing doubled to a whopping 4.6% of the market during the fourth quarter of 2021,
4.6.
up from 2.3% a year earlier and 1.3% 2 years earlier, according to Experian, which devoted a section of its quarterly market report to research on EV loans and leases. Thought this was pretty interesting. I normally don't do numbers because I think it's pretty boring, but this is interesting. Hybrids also grew between the fourth quarters of 2020 and 2021, rising from 3.7% of financed new vehicles to 6.3%, according to Experian. So more people are buying. I think a lot of this, it may be skewed in the fact that they don't have much choice. In other words, all of the ICE engines are now sold out. And the only thing we've got left is the hybrid because the hybrid's going to cost more than the straight gasoline engine.
And the EV, my belief is the EV price is higher than a ice-powered vehicle as well.
Altogether, vehicles other than gasoline internal combustion engine models, a category that includes hybrids and EVs, along with other powertrains, represented 16% of auto financing in the fourth quarter, according to Experian. Market share was up from 12% a year earlier and 9.2% 2 years earlier. Average monthly loan on new EVs rose by 4.9% to $774, while the average lease payment soared by 50% to $688. Okay? Until this year, the average EV loan payment had been falling from a high of $977 5 years prior.
Oh, wow.
The average fourth quarter EV customer brought a credit score of 757 compared to 732 for gasoline powertrain borrowers, and 735 for all new vehicle loans and leases.
When inventory is tight, you're going to have good credit to get it, because those are all decent, very decent credit scores.
Yes. Yeah, those are excellent credit
And
scores.
720 and up.
Experian called the Tesla Model 3 and Tesla Model Y the most popular finance new EVs during the fourth quarter, with market shares above 30% for each. The remainder of the top five had far lower share. The Ford Mustang Mach-E ranked third at 6%. The Tesla Model S came in fourth at 5.3%, and the Volkswagen ID4 held 3.4%. The Model S had the largest average monthly payment among the top five at $1,199 during the fourth quarter. The ID4 carried the lowest at $677. Wow. I just thought that those figures were interesting enough for me to put in the segment.
Yeah.
But I don't like.
No, but
House
it's
payment or car
interesting to see.
payment?
It's really not. Well, yeah, that too, but it's still. None of that indicates it's a consumer-driven market. I mean, it's all outside forces that are pushing it.
And you talk about the price, the monthly of an EV coming down from the 970s into the 770s, somewhat driven by some of the lower price EVs coming out there, with the Bolt, even though it's on recall, and all of the other lower priced EVs, the Mustang Mach-E and stuff. Because 5 years ago, EV would have been Tesla. How many others?
That would
were
have
out
been the
there?
only one.
Yeah. There may be a few others, but by volume, Tesla, and 5 or 6 years ago, that was primarily Tesla S. I think the X might be 7 years old. So all that new purchasing power was of a relatively expensive vehicle.
Hey, if you'd like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email. The address is info@inwheeltime.com. Let's look at the events calendar. We've got events coming up. Tomorrow, of course, being Chrome and Coffee at the Avalon Diner in the Fountains in Stafford, Texas on 59 out there.
And you also have Tacos and Turbos tomorrow at the Detail Garage on 12503 Gulf Freeway. That starts at 3 p.m. through 6 p.m. The Woodlands Cars and Coffee for a Cause with Randy. That starts at 6:30 a.m. and goes on till about 11. The way they stack these. Cars, Coffee, and Donuts up in Navasota at the Whitehall Cafe. You talked about the one at Avalon. That starts at 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Avalon Diner. Also tomorrow, Wimberley Cars and Coffee at the Blanco Brewery at 142 Ranch Road. Also tomorrow is
Go up there and have coffee and brews.
and together. Yeah. Well, you guys are going to the Shiner.
Yes.
On your trip, you're
Yes,
going
we
to
are.
Shiner. The Custom Car Show Explosion at the Tulsa Welding School is tomorrow, and that is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and there is an entry fee for that, and that's a fundraiser for the Tulsa Welding School. The Spring Fling Car Show is tomorrow from noon to 5, and that's at Strake Jesuit Preparatory School. Your girls went to St. Agnes, right?
Yeah.
So right next to each other, kind of, the all-boys school, the
Yep.
all-girls school.
And it really isn't that way anymore. They do share classes now.
Oh, okay.
We used to go to
They've done that.
dances.
But
They've
it's
done
an
that
open
for-
show with a $25 fee.
We used to go to dances at the girls' school. They were fun.
Are we done?
So that's it?
Okay, thank you very much. Time now for this hour's car review. Mr. Morris had a chance to drive the Lexus ES 300H.
Yes, sir, I did, and I have to tell you, there's quite a few things I've really liked about this vehicle. Now, this is a 2022 model Lexus ES 300H, which
sir.
means it is a mid-sized luxury sedan. Now, they've kind of got into
Hybrid.
Hybrid, yes, the H is the hybrid, And they've kind of got into putting in some sport touches to it. It's not really a sports sedan, but it's got some things in it that we'll touch on. But it comes in, you can get a base 300H, you can get the luxury, you can get the ultra luxury, which is the one that we had, or new this year, you can get the F Sport. Now, some of the things on the outside of it, it's got a new grille, it's got some triple beam LED headlights up front, the rain sensing wipers, a lot of the things you expect on a luxury sedan. Premium paint, there was a $500 option on the premium paint, and I really don't know why it was that. But either way.
Can you buy a car without a premium paint upgrade?
For $500, though, I mean, it's why.
I mean, a car's got to be painted. I think I'd choose something else.
Well, I think it's the color combination or whatever. Angie's Mercedes, I paid extra for the paint color.
It could be. It could be. Had the power moonroof, had the hands-free power trunk lid, roll on some nice 18-inch alloy wheels that are designed to reduce noise. Now, I will tell you,
wheels are designed to reduce
noise reduction wheels is what it's called.
Okay.
And I have to tell you, this car was quiet. At just about any speed you want, it was surprisingly quiet.
It's a snoozer inside.
It was. Probably one of the quietest cars I think I've ever been in. And speaking of which, get inside. You got the Anlin quilted leather seating surfaces. The front seats are heated, ventilated, of course. And in the center stack is a 12.3-inch display. Really nice, big, easy to read, wide open. In front of the driver, in front of the gauges, you've got a heads-up display that aids in being able to see everything. And this thing had the side window shades that you could manually pull up in the rear doors, but it had a power shade at the back window that would pull up. So these are all.
So when you're at the drive-in, you don't have to worry about somebody behind you looking in there.
Or seeing through your window to see the movie.
or the sun coming in or whatever.
Or Lover's Lane.
Yes. And he's had the Mark Levinson 1,800-watt premium 17-speaker audio system that just rocks. And you put it inside that quiet vehicle, going down the road, open the sunroof, let the moonlight in, lock and load, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Pay no attention to him. Yeah. He's from Neaterville.
No, but one thing I did see, one of the weird things was the back seat doesn't fold down. Almost all of them, they fold down so you can put a little bit bigger stuff. But this car, the back seat does not fold down. I'm not sure why, but it's kind of weird. Now, to make all this stuff happen going down the road, under the hood, we had the 2.5-liter inline-4 hybrid drive. And now it's got the 215 horsepower equivalency set to it, backed by a CVT automatic. It does have paddle shifters. Again, these little sport touches, it's not really a sports sedan, but they put these little things in there. The EPA says you should be looking for 43 in the city, Highway 44.
Wow.
And combined is 44. It didn't get quite that because we were testing to see how quiet this thing really was. And one of the things about it, because it's the hybrid and stuff, because it's got really this nice power band. Again, I don't understand the power shifter, the paddle shifters with the CVT. It just oozes right on up there to speed.
Wait a minute, it oozes.
It oozes. It's quiet, and you just ooze
and
right on up there.
How do you spell that?
Ooze. Like Suze, but
Suze with an ooze.
Yeah, without
Suze
the S.
with an S.
Yeah, without the S.
Okay.
But again, it's super quiet, and when you're on the highway, it's got this nice, smooth luxury car ride. But the handling on it, it's you don't really feel like you're disconnected from the road, like we were talking to Alec earlier about being able to feel the road with the steering and stuff. It doesn't really do that, but it's not really, again, it's not a sport coupe or a sports sedan type thing. Now, the base trim price, base model of this is like $42,975, and the base trim price on this vehicle is $51,080. Now, as tested, it's $56,008. If you're looking for something to compare it to, you're looking at an Audi A6 possibly, $55,009 starting. An MB Mercedes-Benz E-Class starts at $54,950 to keep it all in that same.
But neither of them are hybrids.
No, they're not. You're just trying to get something in the price that enters the same size pricing.
But if you look at the system that's on this, who builds the best hybrid system in the industry? Toyota, and they have for years. And this is an evolution of the Toyota hybrid system, Synergy Drive, but in a Lexus they don't call it that. But
right.
It's mechanically all the same, and they do a wonderful job with it.
My daughter-in-law has one very similar to that.
And I I like the hybrids much better than the EVs. I'm just saying because it just the convenience and I don't know. It just seems like the rush to the EV over the hybrid seems to be a little rushed. I just don't think the technology stuff's there personally.
I did want to mention something, and that is the fact that I will be attending the Hot Rod Tour of Texas coming up next month on April 29th, 30th, and May 1st. It's going to start in Victoria, Texas. There is a lot of interest, and I think that if the weather's good, which I think it should be, there are going to be a lot of cars involved in this. It starts at Velocity Power Sports in Victoria, Texas on that Friday morning. We drive to the Shiner Spetzel Brewery, home of Shiner Beers in New Braunfels.
Beer and Bach.
And then we go to the Stars and Stripes Drive-In Theater in New Braunfels, Dripping Springs Temple area, Little River Dragway, George, Hillsboro Roadside America Museum, and the final stop, Mansfield House of Hot Rods, way up there in North Texas. It ought to be a great 3-day trip. We're looking forward to that. Hot Rod Power Tour of Texas, and you can find out more about it by going on Facebook and looking up Hot Rod Power Tour.
It'd be fun just to go watch the parade.
Got a link on our Facebook page.
Yep, and also it's a popular event, and it's full. Every day there's something posted. Hey, this
it's filling up,
yep,
and yeah,
absolutely.
It's getting full.
Well, as a matter of fact, the
drive-in sold out.
Drive-in is sold out, and I don't know about the hotels because I've already booked all of mine, and I've done all the things that
You staying with George up in Temple?
I'm not staying with George in Temple.
Hey, George, save the guy $1.
No, I'm good. But thank you, George. I appreciate the offer through Conrad. I'm good.
Thank you, Conrad, for
I thought you were going
volunteering,
with him.
George.
I thought you were going with them in the vet.
No, we need to have people.
No, he needs to get the.
No, we need to have people here in studio while Don is out
that's Keels and
traveling
Wheels
the
weekend.
world.
Yeah. That's Keels and Wheels weekend.
All right, time now for a quick break. The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available from your favorite podcast provider. In Wheel Time Car Show continues right after this quick break.
Saturday, March 19th, 2022 is the premiere of the all-new Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos kicks off a new seasonal format, and first up is the Spring Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m., Saturday, March 19th. Tailpipes and Tacos will award trophies for the best hot rod, best classic, and best modern classic, so make plans now. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise in, and this is where you'll enjoy seeing the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, along with Lupi Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and all cars will automatically compete for custom Lupi trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Get your ride ready for the all-new Spring Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, March 19th. It's going to be a huge car show, and spectators are welcome. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show will be there, too. Let's celebrate the arrival of spring and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday morning, March 19th, 8 to 11 a.m. at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net.
It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, your place for entertaining automotive. Coming up, talk to car industry expert Jack Nerad about lots of things, but probably we're going to go into the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Oh, boy.
And the effect of the automotive world it's having.
Yeah.
Plus, we'll have the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us on this Sunday. Thank you so much. And look who's on the line with us. Ladies and gentlemen, head potentate, writer, editor, and auto consultant, and host of America on the Road, it's Jack Nerad.
Hey, great to talk to you guys.
Well, it's great to
be
talk
with
to you. And, I just love to say all of those things about you because, you are the poster child for Mr. Automotive.
No one else will say those things.
Yeah, no, that's nice that you do say them. And I've been around the industry a long time. I can say that.
Well, it's a pleasure.
Fun doing it.
We love talking to you, Jack, because you're one of us, and, we really appreciate it. And how are the gas prices out there on the left coast today?
Funny you should ask. They're going up to, I think they're close to $6 now. I mean, we're well past the $5 a gallon kind of thing. We've endured that for the last, several weeks now, and they just keep climbing. And, as the cost of a barrel of oil keeps climbing, I'm sure the gas prices will keep climbing too.
How's the news business out there handling that? Is that the lead story every night?
It's an important story, certainly. I mean, this is something that obviously affects everybody, right? I mean, everybody, especially everybody on the West Coast, drives. You commute, so it's certainly a big story. I think in some ways maybe they've gotten used to $5 a gallon gas. That's hard to imagine. I think in Houston to figure on that, but. Yeah, that's what we've got right now.
Well, we're getting there. We're at 360.
Yeah. 360, 385.
Yeah, somewhere in there. So we're not that far behind you, but I'll tell you, it's been a long time since we've had this kind of gas prices.
Texas and Oklahoma, we know where the oil is. We're just not allowed to go get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the big issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing that we're dealing with right now.
But we can still go ahead and buy it from Russia. And we can buy it from Iran, which I don't understand.
Fund the people that
that's what's so painful about this, right? That we all know that that's the last thing we want to do is fund those countries. And we know that we have these resources here in the United States. And we also know that we have great techniques and great people who can get this energy to us very rapidly, very cleanly,
and much cleaner than what's going on coming out of Russia.
Absolutely.
And
it is so frustrating to have this go on and on and on with just lip service being given to it by people in high places.
So besides just the price of fuel, how else is the automotive industry being impacted by what's going on in Ukraine?
Well, I think it is showing us how fragile the whole energy system is, right? I mean, when a foreign power captures a big nuclear, series of reactors that generate a ton of electricity, that also shows that electricity is on the edge. And certainly you guys went through, I think, last winter, not this the winter we're in, but the previous winter, how fragile that whole infrastructure is in extremes, and we never know what the extremes are going to be. And I've been writing a lot about electric cars. You can't avoid it when you do what I do, and you guys are certainly talking about them too. And one of the things that they run into is problems in extreme weather. They don't like high heat, and they don't like frigid cold. And in places where you have both, certainly you run into problems or can run into problems.
Jack, let me just interject something here. I ran across a story on Automotive News. You probably have read it too, about the crisis in Ukraine and Russia's involvement and their invasion and all that stuff, and how it's affecting certain aspects of the car industry. Russian self-driving company Yandex halts U.S. operations amid the Ukraine invasion. Now, I say that because you think, well, so what? But these companies that are here in the United States employ people, Americans, in their companies to build products and make products. So there's that. A deal with Putin leaves Renault trapped in Russia. They can't get out of whatever it is that they're doing there.
Yeah, but that's the French. They've made a mess of things for generations.
Okay, well, we don't need any editorial here. Hyundai unsure whether it will resume Russian plant operations. Auto supplier Magna suspends Russian operations. CEO of EV charging firm ChargePoint says some employees are trapped in the Ukraine. Audi to cut German production. Nissan suspends vehicle exports to Russia, expects production stoppages, which might affect us here in the United States because, this is a world economy and it's also a worldwide industry. The automotive is. VW, Porsche, Bentley exports to Russia halted on sanctions. German automakers warn of more production fallout from the Ukraine crisis. Mercedes forced to cut shifts. Europe's auto production crashes as flow of wiring harnesses dries up because they're made in the Ukraine. Toyota suspends Russian car production and vehicle imports. Honda suspends vehicle sales to Russia. Ford Motor Company said it informed joint venture partner Solars it is immediately suspending operations in Russia. VW expects to temporarily idle more plants, including its main Wolfsburg factory, as fallout from shortages of key parts from suppliers in Ukraine is spreading there. Shares of Renault, the European automaker most exposed to Russia, tumbled to their lowest close since November of 2020. Jaguar, Aston Martin stopped Russian deliveries. Stellantis, Volvo, GM, VW, Daimler Truck suspend shipments to Russia. VW halts EV production. You get the idea of all of this stuff that's going on. And it's not just, the Russian-built cars. It's not just Ukrainian-built cars that only affect some of those people in the UK. Let's just take, for instance, the wiring harnesses that come out of the Ukraine that go to the Mercedes-Benz factory. We buy their cars here in the United States. I mean, this is going to be a huge hit on top of the fact that we're still having to deal with the microchip shortage.
Out of China, who's probably...
I mean, it just shows that this is a global industry, right? And something that happens overseas, you wouldn't think it would have any kind of effect here in the United States, and yet it does. It has a giant effect. It's strange to me because I actually visited the Ford operation outside St. Petersburg in Russia. I spent time there. I went to the Moscow Auto Show once upon a time. So it's kind of crazy to me to have been in a place where they just kind of, with blind aggression, attack another European country. Kind of amazing all the way around. To have been that close to that.
I don't recall. Of course, I'm not that old, but I don't recall even World War II. The effects of what happened over there during World War II affecting the automobile industry like this is already, and we're only a week into this.
Well, I think World War II, the American industrial giants
was part of the war effort.
Turned into war production.
Yeah, the war effort.
And, there was no, for a couple of years, there was no public vehicles available for sale. But with this, we're building cars in Russia, we're building components in the Ukraine, and how that's impacting the rest of the industry, we've never seen before.
Now, here's one for you. This story, I just found this morning from Automotive News. The vehicles and auto parts endangered by the Russian invasion of Ukraine may seem thousands of miles away from being a real problem, but the war could bring new worries to an issue that's already bedeviling automakers. There's a word for you. The global microchip shortage, because Ukraine is the source for 70% of the world's output of neon. Neon is the critical gas that runs the lasers that are needed to manufacture semiconductor chips, according to market research firm TrendForce. U.S. chip makers rely almost entirely on laser gas from Russia and Ukraine, according to market research company TechChet.
And you don't think Russia is aware of that? I think they're completely aware of that. Again, going back to the guy who was in Great Britain who was mining, what was it, cobalt?
He was in Spain.
Tungsten.
Yeah,
Tungsten.
Tungsten.
And how the Chinese have been buying up tungsten mines worldwide because they realize that gives them control of the market. I think the Russians are looking at market control on the neon as well.
Yeah, and when we're looking at electric cars, I mean, cobalt and tungsten and a bunch of rare earths are very, very important there. And we're not sourcing them here because of environmental concerns, quote unquote. So we go overseas to get them, and then we put our industry at risk because those overseas sources are fragile, right?
When this ends, and it will eventually, when all of this ends, do you think that this is going to have a permanent or at least long-lasting effect on the automotive industry? Do you think that we're going to be bringing back more stuff that we've actually relied on others offshore?
I'd like to think so, but I'm not sure that there's the political will to do that. And I think a lot of the way a lot of our industrial leaders think is globally, not nationally. And I think it's important for those of us who live in this country, who care about this country, to put that out there, that we want that kind of production back here in the United States. We don't want this fragility of supply and dealing with what we've had to deal with from global companies that are unreliable, basically unreliable. And I don't think this is going to end quickly either. I think there's liable to be a long insurgency within Ukraine if, depending on how this goes, this is going to be a hotbed for a long time, I've got to believe. And I think there'll be disruptions for years, potentially.
Well, because of the way it's set up, like we were talking about, it's a global market. But, you know, when you start, and we've done this as a country, apparently, with these large corporations, like you said, you go over here and you deal with countries that are not necessarily stable. They're not our friend. You know, they want to, they're just not our friend, but we're going to do business with them anyway. It's one thing to export things to them, but to put yourself in a dependency role, like whether you're talking about car parts or you're talking about vaccines or anything like that, when you put yourself in that dependable, where you're dependent on that country that doesn't like you, they're not your friend. I mean,
then they have somewhat control.
What they do, you're giving up the control that, you know, okay, go to someplace that's friendly or has a history of at least.
Well, and we're much more dependent on China than we are on Russia. I mean, Russia is not a big player economically. It's not a big market for our products. We don't get a lot of stuff made in Russia. You know, I'm not wearing jeans or, you know, carrying a phone that was made in Russia. But there's a ton of stuff we get that's made in China. And many of our biggest companies are deeply, deeply involved in China.
Well, but it's one thing to buy
an enemy
stuff
of the United States, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's one thing to buy some things from them, but to become dependent on them is that's where we make the mistake.
Well,
and apparently, money's more important than.
And the tip of the iceberg right now is chips. But you know, think about that. 80% of that iceberg still hasn't shown his head in our dependent relationship with China.
Well, and let's just take it one step further here, and let's talk about what happened a few weeks ago in the issue with the restrictions COVID brought about up there in Canada and the big blockade at the border. Now, that's just across the river from the United States, but look at the havoc that wreaked on the car industry in Detroit because they couldn't get the parts back and forth across the Canadian border.
Yeah, I was just reporting on an issue. They think it might have been a cyber attack in Japan that forced Toyota to shut down production of more than half of their worldwide production for a day at least. That's a huge amount of money. That's a huge amount of cars that are going away when you shut down that amount of production, even for a day. It has devastating effects, and this could happen over and over again as we go forward.
And I think that it's going to happen more frequently, especially stuff like cyber attacks, because here in the past 6 months, we keep hearing of these major cyber attacks on major companies around the globe. And don't know what the reason being, unless somebody's got some vendetta against that company.
Money.
But, well, money is one of them. But
ransom.
I would imagine that's not going to stop, and it's going to continue to evolve around the globe, and especially now with Russia with their back hair up. And
they're back against the wall.
Yeah, and so I think that we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, as Conrad says.
Yeah, I Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And a lot of cyber attacks are hushed up, right? I mean, a company doesn't want to necessarily announce, we've got this major problem of security. That's a kind of a red flag to everybody. Right?
Well, neither does a government or a community or the power company, and they're all under attack, and they're all under attack all the time. It's just who's smarter on which side of the aisle.
I want to ask you about the press fleet that you have access to out there in California. What kind of changes have you seen to the press fleet? Because I think that it's indicative of what we see going on at car dealer lots around the United States. How has it been for you?
It's been a little more difficult, I think, to get cars, and it takes a while to get the car that you really want to test that week or something like that. It hasn't been impossible to get test cars. There's certainly a lot of test cars out here, and there are plenty of people to be serviced, I guess, by the press fleet operations out here. At the same time, I just reported on the GMC Sierra Limited, the 1500 Limited, which is kind of a stopgap measure forced, I think, by the parts problems, right? They were going to have not brand new, but completely revamped 2022 Sierra and couldn't do it fast enough. So they put out a model that was essentially the 2021. And so we haven't had the 2022s to test yet. And we're seeing that on a lot of vehicles that we expected to be here and are thus delayed. And I think we're going to see more and more of that.
Well, I had an unusual thing on one of the press cars that I drove here recently, and right on, because we had a little cold snap here, and I thought, well, I'll use the seat heater, which I never really do, and it didn't work. And I look on the Monroney, the window sticker on the thing, and as it says, the seat heater is non-functional because they're saving a microchip, and they'll dealer install it when it becomes available. Have you run across any of those?
I have, actually. In fact, this GMC Sierra that I was talking about does not have stop-start system. You can maybe applaud if you want.
Well, that's what we're all thinking.
Right. It doesn't have it because of the chip shortage again. And, when you have that 6.2-liter V8, maybe you'd like the fuel economy of that stop-start, or you'd at least like to be able to turn it off or on.
Have the option.
Right?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I saw a commercial on Motor Trend TV just last night that has... they're touting this device that you can put in to the OBT2 port underneath the dashboard that will defeat or override the start-stop feature in your car. I'm going, yes, there you go. I need to get me one of those.
Yeah, I think the good news factor is they're a lot better than they used to be. I mean, they used to be so obtrusive and just irritating. I think much less so now.
Yeah, it used to feel like somebody hit you in the back bumper when that engine would start or stop. Now they've really got it. I think it's quite refined where a majority of them, you don't necessarily notice it the way you did 5 years ago.
So, Jack, before we finish our interview with you today, I want to get your take on the whole EV thing and what's happening with this move toward total EVs in the near future. I mean, by the end of this decade. The attempt, anyway. And how do you think the EV thing is going to go?
I think there's a lot of smoke being blown right now.
Tell us how you really feel.
It's just kind of crazy to think that something that is less than 4% of the new car market now is going to suddenly be dominant. Let's say over 50%, not 100%, but let's say 50% is a huge bridge to cross. In 10 years, in 15 years, and 20 years. Most of the cars that are on the road now are going to be on the road in 2030, right?
Yes, right.
You're going to have that. And I don't see from the consumer a big move toward EVs, despite the fact that we're seeing more and more of them in the market. They're more palatable. They're quite good, but they're still premium priced, and they still have the same basic problems that EVs have always had, and that is cost and range. And they're addressed to some extent, but they're not addressed to the extent that it's going to be palatable, I think, for the general public to go out and say, I'm not going to buy this gasoline car. I'm going to spend another 20% or more on an electric.
That I can't go as far in.
exactly. And then I can never take a cross-country trip in without, doing mental gymnastics the entire way.
And then California is going to lead the states in its EV requirements, because what are you, pure EV in 5 years? 27, 28?
Well, there's edicts from the governor who will be out of office long since when any of this stuff happens. So I think most of this is political posturing. We've had zero emission mandates in California for the better part of the last 30 years. And when it gets close to the deadline, it's always postponed. So it's easy to say that from a political point of view, and maybe you make political points with the naive. I'm sure you do. But as it affects the real world, when people are either able to drive or not, they're going to get pretty cranky if they can't drive what they want to drive.
Jack, what do you think is going to happen with the car companies that are sinking all of their earnings into this EV push?
It's fascinating. I got to believe that they're counting on government regulations to take us there. I think with a company like General Motors, in some ways you go, well, what did they have to lose? They were, their market share has been cratering for years and years and years. So maybe that's the way to win people back. But I don't know that most people are sitting around thinking, wow, I need to get that General Motors EV that's coming. They've got a lot of cool stuff and their engineering is great, but I don't know that they have the aura around them, right? The marketing glow that
Tesla
some of these
does.
startups have. So I'm hard pressed to figure out how this is all going to sort out. It'll be really interesting to watch and report on, but I don't think it's going to be very pretty, actually.
And what is your take on Ford naming their EV the Ford Mustang Mach-E?
Well, a lot of people are up in arms over how can that be a Mustang, right? I think they have some particular brands. When you go to the Ford media site, they have a section marked icons. They point out what they, it's kind of like patting yourself on the back. We have these vehicles that are iconic, and Mustang is certainly one of them. And they list Bronco in there and some others. And I don't know where they're going with this, to tell you the truth. I don't know that people who care about Mustang want an EV, and people who want an EV care about Mustang.
Right.
They kind of, do they cross over? Not really.
I think that Ford Motor Company's marketing division pulled the wool over somebody's eyes by, if we call it a Mustang, people are going to buy it. And,
it'll be much more acceptable.
To me, all it does is confuse the issue, and I'm just not a proponent of it.
I mean, they haven't really got traction here. I live in a town, or I live in an area where EVs are everywhere. It's kind of amazing. And I live not too far from where they do a lot of development on Tesla, so that maybe makes sense. But I think a lot of civilians are buying EVs here. I live in a well-to-do community, though, that is not the real world by far. And I'm wondering how these people put up with the problems involved in having an EV, just the day-to-day issues you have with getting it charged and doing all those things and having to deal with something that doesn't have much range.
Jack, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. We love you, and thank you so much for joining us today. And good luck out there with the gas prices. We'll be keeping on top of it.
I'm headed to downtown L.A., so wish me luck.
Taking mass
I'm trying to fill up my wallet here.
Exactly.
You got to be there on Tuesday morning, right? That's
Jack, thanks again, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Great to talk to all of you. You take care.
Thank you.
Editor, writer, and auto consultant, host of America on the Road, Jack Nerad.
What a guy. What a guy.
And very well versed in the auto industry.
Fun to talk to.
Yeah.
And very knowledgeable.
And very informative as well. A couple of other headlines I wanted to get in before we ended the show today. Honda Motor Company, in the midst of a radical corporate makeover, will team with Japanese electronics giant Sony Corporation on a new joint venture to develop and sell electric vehicles.
Huh.
The tie-up is the first major collaboration between two iconic Japanese brands from different industries to tackle the challenges of new mobility in an auto industry under siege by change. Honda will contribute its expertise in body manufacturing and after-sales service, while Sony chips in its know-how in imaging, sensing, telecommunications, networking, and entertainment technologies. New company will plan, design, develop, and sell EVs, but not operate an assembly plant. Honda will be responsible for manufacturing the first EV model, they said.
It's all about the punctuation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, and the hyphenation. At any rate, so I think we've got you caught up on everything that we needed to get you caught up on when it came to what's happening in the Ukraine and how we think it's going to handle the issues with automotive.
How it's going to impact everybody.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I don't think that we've seen the end of it. And stay tuned for Chapter 2 next week when we continue to talk about it, because I'm sure that there'll be a lot more fallout from all of this coming your way.
I agree with Jack that it's going to be ongoing for years.
I hope not to use the word fallout next week.
Oh.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
So we'll see how all of that plays out. Mr. Mars, what do you got?
What have I got?
Yeah,
I got lots of stuff.
You got a ticket home?
No, I'm not getting
Two tickets to paradise.
Got 2 tickets to paradise.
There you go.
Yes.
All right.
Neaterville.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up today's show after a quick break. Stay with us here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show.
Saturday, March 19th, 2022 is the premiere of the all-new Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, and you're invited. Tailpipes and Tacos kicks off a new seasonal format, and first up is the Spring Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy, 8 to 11 a.m., Saturday, March 19th. Tailpipes and Tacos will award trophies for the best hot rod, best classic, and best modern classic, so make plans now. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's coolest cruise in, and this is where you'll enjoy seeing the best hot rods, show cars, classics, and resto mods, along with Lupi Tortilla breakfast tacos and adult beverages. There's no entry fee, and all cars will automatically compete for custom Lupi trophies and other prizes. It all happens at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10. Get your ride ready for the all-new Spring Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, March 19th. It's going to be a huge car show, and spectators are welcome. The In Wheel Time Car Talk Show will be there, too. Let's celebrate the arrival of spring and the return of Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday morning, March 19th, 8 to 11 a.m. at the Lupi Tortilla in Katy. We'll see you then, weather permitting. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. When you're on our Facebook page, please give us a like. Tell your friends about us. Share our junk if you would, please. You'll get Conrad's unicorn hunting feature. Pardon me, Mike.
Gotta go.
Yeah, features along with all things automotive all week long. There'll be some fun stuff in there too, including upcoming events and other goodies. The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, and on InWheelTime.com every Saturday, 8 to 11 a.m. Central Time. 30-minute podcasts available from your favorite podcast outlet 7 days a week. The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is David Ainsley. Our Marketing and Advertising Manager and Video Technical Director is We Need More, Jeff Zekin.
We do.
For Booking Agent and Podcast Editor, Mike Out of This World Mars, and his royalty, King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. Thanks so much for joining us. Today's show is produced by Mrs. Baird's, the white bread with no holes. Be sure to join us again for our next live In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, Saturday, March 12th, 8 to 11 a.m. Central Time, right here on the fabulous Smoke and Mirrors Network. Adios, amigos.
Adios.